There is a new pope. This is big news, and old tweets are starting to surface of new Pope Leo, showing that he was critical of the Trump administration, very pro-immigration. He's being called a leftist, woke globalist, things like that. Now, there's a lot of people who are Catholic coming out and saying you can't judge a 2,000-year-old institution based off of modern politics in the United States. So there is a debate to be had as to whether or not he's woke, because apparently he also has a post where he said there's only two genders or something like that. Or I should say he has a quote where he's like, there's only two genders. And so people are saying, actually, maybe he's all right. Maybe he's somewhere in the middle. This isn't even the biggest story, to be completely honest. I mean, actually, it probably is the biggest, but there's so much news. Okay, Letitia James is under FBI and criminal investigation now for mortgage fraud. The largest dogfight, that's just fighter jets shooting at each other between India and Pakistan, the largest since World War II, 125 jets in this battle. Riots are currently breaking out in New York City. Donald Trump has named Judge Janine as the interim D.C. attorney. Wow. So those are the big stories. Then we've got a crazy story where a TikToker, some TikTok kids were pulling a prank at 3 a.m, ringing doorbells, got shot and killed, and they arrested the homeowner saying that it was murder. And that's been a big story today, actually, because it plays into how insane young people are getting on social media, desperate for views, to where they're actually trying to break into people's homes. It's getting nuts out there. And then, of course, everybody's favorite Bernie Sanders saying, I apologize for nothing, because he was caught flying on private jets. And he was like, I have to do it. I have to. And he doesn't have to, so it's really funny. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Before we get started, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is shopbeam.com. Help you sleep, man. Go to shopbeam, BEAM.com/TimPool. Use code TimPool, get 40% off. So, my friends, Beam Dream is one that is a sleep supplement that's become quite popular. The crew has been using, I think, a couple people actually. We've got them right here. Check this out. I'm really excited. I'm going to try it. I want to try it today. I know that some of the crew here has been raving about it. They've been using it for some time now, actually, and I hear good things. Before Dream, there'd be nights where people would get only a few hours of sleep. This is actually true, so I'm hoping to improve my sleep because I've not been getting enough. Waking up groggy, hitting a wall mid-afternoon, man, that is so true. And you feel like you're just pushing through the day. So with Beam Dream, people are starting to feel better. They're saying it will consistently improve your sleep. The difference in how you will feel is huge. Waking up clear-headed, more focused when working, no midday crash. It's not just about the hours, but the quality of sleep. Fall asleep faster and stay asleep. Even in the nights when your mind is racing or the stress of the news cycle is hitting hard, it'll help you shut off, unwind, and actually rest. No joke. I'm legit going to slam some of this after the show because I'm hearing good things and we're super excited for it. Plus, my sleep, sometimes it's really good, sometimes not so good. I'm hoping to maximize my REM and deep sleep. It's very, very important. The best part, it tastes like a delicious cup of hot cocoa. This one says brownie batter flavored. I'm excited for that one. Just with all natural sleep supporting ingredients. If sleep's been a struggle for you, even just falling asleep or staying asleep, then check out Beam Dream. Again, go to shopbeam.com/TimPool. Use promo code TimPool for up to 40% off. It's an exclusive offer for all of you guys. If you've already tried it, drop a comment. Let people know what you think. We got two flavors. We've got cinnamon cocoa. Oh, man, that sounds awesome. Shout out to Beam for sponsoring the show. Really do appreciate it. Of course, don't forget to go to timcast.com and click Join Us to get in our Discord server. My friends, tomorrow we will be premiering Culture War Live. It was wild. I got to tell you, debates must be before live audiences because the energy is there. It is absolutely incredible. So if you want to call into our uncensored members only show, which is going to be probably nuts tonight, you need to be a member of our Discord server. So go to timcast.com, click Join Us, sign up, download the Discord app, get involved. There's tens of thousands of people all hanging out. They want to be friends with you. You guys get to call in, join us on this show for the uncensored portion when you are a member of the Timcast Discord. Don't forget to smash that like button, share the show right now with everyone you know. Proud to say thank you to everybody. We were the biggest live show in the country yesterday. Of all live streams, we are the second biggest. But the first biggest was a state channel for watching the Vatican. So not a show. Second biggest stream, biggest live show in general in the country. And that is thanks to you guys. Sharing is caring. Thank you so much. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Nick Sortor.
Appreciate you having me again, Tim.
Absolutely. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Nick Sortor. I'm an ex-guy. I yell at politicians for a living. And, hopefully more of you guys are going to join me in Washington, do this stuff with me. I can't be the only one there doing this stuff, guys.
Indeed. Well, thanks for hanging out. Should be fun. Lisa's here.
Hey, guys. I'm happy to be here. Happy Nick's here. My old not MySpace, what?
MySpace.
Twitter Spaces, buddy. Yeah.
And who are you and what do you do?
Oh, hi. I work for you. I work for you and bring guests on the show now.
Indeed. Do you have a Twitter handle or
I
X
do.
handle?
It's at Lisa Elizabeth. I tweet intermittently.
So everyone can follow you and tweet at you when they want to come on the show.
Oh, lovely.
And stop tweeting at me.
And no, actually, so I really like recommendations. So if you're going to do that, don't just say the name. Can you tag the account of the person that you want? Because I'll pay attention, but I'm not going to go searching for this person if you don't tag it. So there's some advice if you're going to start sending me stuff.
Mary's hanging out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Morgan. I co-host Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast. We actually just joined Rumble. We're on YouTube as well. But I want us to have people tuning in on both platforms, so I just want to get that out there first off. I'm glad that you're here, Lisa, because I was worried that I would be the one Catholic here to cover the new Pope, and I needed to do my homework and stuff. So we're going to be a united front. Phil is Catholic curious. I don't know what you're going to say, but
Catholic.
Yeah,
You've done more homework.
What about you, Nick? Are you?
I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic schools for 12 years, but after Pope Francis, I was I don't know. The Catholic Church seemed to leave me a little bit.
Okay, so I'm a lapsed Catholic, but way younger than you. So everyone here is in some.
everyone here is Catholic.
Okay.
That's what that means. Yeah.
The right one, the right religion.
My name is Phil Abonti. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist, a counter-revolutionary, and apparently a Catholic curious.
You called yourself that.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the news. Ladies and gentlemen, this is history in the making. Robert Prevost, is that how you pronounce it? Prevost? Of the United States is named Pope Leo XIV. First of all, I am loving the memes. Have you seen the Chicago memes? I am a Chicago man. You are too, I believe?
No.
You're not? Oh, that's right. You're New York.
Yep.
Who was I thinking? I'm thinking of somebody else. So everybody's been just blasting these memes off. One of my favorite was the new Pope, what was it, delivering the body of Christ, and it was a Giordano's deep dish pizza.
I'm not allowed to laugh at that, so.
Well, it's were any Catholics actually upset about the memes that were coming out like that?
I didn't
There was
see
some
any of
earlier
this.
today with the smoke rising up, and it was orange for Donald Trump.
I saw one that it was white and there was Snoop in a Cardinals robe with a baggie. I thought that was
The only people
crazy.
that were upset about that seemed to be like atheists for some reason, like leftist atheists, and I don't know, but the memes have been fantastic.
The same people that were upset when Donald Trump tweeted a picture of himself as the Pope at 10:30 on a Friday. He's sitting at home just being like, how can I get him riled up? He's like,
Trump said he didn't do that. He was like, I don't know who did that. Someone did. It's a joke. So what?
Yeah,
Someone running his account for him?
Yeah, they're posting memes.
Oh, okay.
that really is
more than one
let
person
down.
probably has access to his
Yeah.
accounts.
I won't say who it is, but the White House account is run by one person.
I know.
That tweets at
I know.
I'm not going to say who it is.
I know who it was. It was Big Balls.
Yeah, it had to be
Big
Big Balls.
Who's big ball?
So in Doge.
Oh.
So there's been a bunch of people have been surfacing old posts. We've got this one from 2015, Cardinal Dolan's from Robert Prevost. Why Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric is so problematic. We've got Jack Basovic saying, here is Pope Leo's last retweet. And he retweeted Rocco Palmo as Trump and Bukele use Oval to, laughing emoji, Fed's illicit deportation of a U.S. resident. Once an undocked Salvadorian himself, now D.C. Ox Avelio asks, do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? How can you stay quiet? We have this article from the New York Times. J.D. Vance is wrong. The Pope appears uneasy with Trump immigration policies. So a lot of people are saying, this is a woke Pope. We got a woke Pope. What are we going to do? And there's been a few different views of this. Obviously, we've got the Crescentines are loving it. Tweeting out, Dear MAGA, Pope Leo, formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost, demonstrated a strong commitment to supporting migrants, particularly Venezuelan refugees, fleeing economic hardship. He was noted for his special concern for these individuals, emphasizing assistance and integration into the community. He says, here's him saying, J.D. Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. He says the new Pope also posted about Trump's immigration policies being problematic. Additionally, the new Pope also retweeted a post asking how one's conscience can't be disturbed by what Trump is doing. Yeah, you get it. The liberals. I love this. Okay, this one's for the Catholics in the room. Atheist liberals are praising the Catholic Pope, and Catholics are criticizing his past tweets.
Some Catholics.
Some cat. Well, I
Like Michael Knowles and stuff is like, yeah, give it time.
we're not praising his tweets though.
No, they're not. They're not praising.
Why would they
his tweets, but-
praise them?
But they're praising other things like that he's a registered Republican, that he like Mary was telling me he wore all the traditional regalia. He's super pro-life. Like there's some people that are happy with him that are Catholic. I'm just saying the atheists, anybody that's a liberal is just going to pile onto any smidgen of anything that's
Yeah.
anti-Trump.
we're looking at you. I mean, we're citing the Krasenstein brothers here. I
They're
mean,
the worst. Can they just
king
go
of-
away?
The kings of engagement bait
But
on X. That's all it is.
That's the point. Liberal grifters are praising the Pope.
Yeah.
But they're,
Is that a win?
But
the thing is, look, one of the most important things to Catholics right now is the fact that he's pro-life. I would imagine that's a that has to be
Well, they
something
all
that's,
should be.
Yes, of course they should be, but there's people are Catholics around the world are questioning about whether or not they are pro-life.
I could be wrong, but
They say that they're Catholic and they say they're pro-life, but like that,
They're like
it's not always the
cafeteria
case.
Catholics. They're not like real.
Well, I agree with the people who are cautioning against imposing an American political paradigm over an institution that has existed for 2,000 years and transcends that paradigm. It's also worrying to me that this is the first American pope. Not because there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I think it will be weaponized by grifters, as you said. They would like for our new pope to basically become a battering ram that they can use against Trump.
Right.
And they also want to pit Catholics, especially American Catholics, against their president using this loyalty, like using the loyalty card. Are you going to be loyal to your president and your nation, or are you going to be loyal to your pope and your church? And I disagree with that dichotomy. Like, that's a false dichotomy to begin with, but it will be used and weaponized against lay Catholics in America. So that was worrying, and it also came completely out of left field that he is American, because that was one of the main reasons why he wasn't considered a front runner.
Yeah, there's
We
articles.
do have this real quick. Sorry. This is Billboard Chris tweeted this out. A statement from Pope Leo, quote, "The promotion of gender ideology is confusing because it seeks to create genders that don't exist." And
Well, that's okay. That's base, but it's like I think like people don't realize, even if there were a cardinal who were privately liberal on issues of like abortion or gay marriage or what have you, they would never publicly say that. So like they would publicly, at the very least, pay lip service to reflecting the church's teaching on those issues.
My mom wants me to say this real quick. She's like, by the way, he's pro BLM and he's a George Floyd sympathizer.
so hold on. Like,
This is a tweet
I don't
from
know if that's
March of
true.
2020. March of 2020, we're citing a retweet from March of 2020. Keep that in mind.
and hold on. He blessed the family of George Floyd, which I think is the Christian thing to do, even if they're your enemies, right?
He is not
Yeah.
really known for making a lot of public statements, so people are just kind of speculating at this point and haven't waited for a time to like actually observe him leading.
Let
jumping to conclusions.
me point out what Billboard Chris also mentioned in his tweet. He says, in a 2012 address to bishops, Cardinal Prevost, now Pope Leo, lamented that Western news media and popular culture fostered, quote, sympathy for beliefs and practices that are at odds with the gospel, citing homosexual lifestyle, alternative families comprised of same-sex partners and their adopted children. As a bishop in Chiclayo, a city in northwestern Peru, he opposed a government plan to add teachings on gender in schools. Quote, the promotion of gender ideology is confusing because it seeks to create genders that don't exist. So it actually sounds like he may be based. I don't like the immigration stuff, but other than that, he may actually be
Francis said similar things. Francis was outspokenly, obviously, pro-life. Like, these are basic issues that the Catholic Church leaders are at least publicly united on. What I'm concerned about is what Catholics are divided on, especially as an American. And I mean, there are 1.4 billion Catholics, and the vast majority of them, myself included, do not pay close attention to ecclesial politics.
1.4 billion Catholics?
Yeah,
No, that can't be right. Is
that's
it?
true.
Wow.
1.4 billion Catholics, and the vast majority of them don't pay attention to this stuff very closely, and that's me too. I was hoping and praying for a pope who is going to lift restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass, because I think that a lot of young people are flocking to that, and it should have a fostered revival in the U.S. or in the West in general. So protecting traditional liturgy. And and then possibly one who is quiet, like maybe one who comments less to the media.
1.406. Yeah, crazy. I didn't know that. Wow.
Colonel Sarah. I think that's who I was rooting for.
That's what a lot of people were rooting for, but it was unlikely.
I know.
Already.
Did you
I
see
mean, a
that-
lot of traditional leaning Catholics are thinking, obviously this isn't like what we were hoping for, but we weren't expecting the best case scenario anyway. So we're going to be cautiously optimistic or just neutral for now before we can actually observe his leadership.
I feel like last week there was an article out, or somebody was talking about how there's no shot that there would ever be an American pope. Like that.
I thought so.
They weren't even in the,
Yeah.
I don't remember where I read it or heard it, but they were saying that's because they didn't want to give Trump any more power.
But he was elected very quickly, which made me think,
Yeah.
is he popular among these cardinals because they see the potential to use him against Trump?
This
That's
is
what
one of
I'm
the questions
worried
that I've
about.
gotten all day today is how likely is it that somebody like this could be, or a conclave could be infiltrated by somebody like George Soros, for example?
Infiltrated? In what way?
Infiltrate. I mean, you know,
He's actually there?
no, not like he's actually there. I mean, I'm not saying it was going to be Pope Soros or anything like that, but you know, talking about the fact that okay, yes, there is I think a viable, realistic argument to say that the reason that you would put in an American Pope right now is to counter the Trump agenda, to pit Americans against each other.
Yeah.
But who could possibly coordinate that? How would that even take place? You know, what goes on inside of a conclave where they could possibly work together to do something like that on behalf of a.
Like, I mean, if you watch any of like the old stuff, there was plenty of corruption. I mean, they're human. They are not
There is
infallible.
precedent for it as well because some people believe the new bishop for the Diocese of Washington was appointed specifically like around D.C., around our capital, as I said, like kind of an anti-Trump figure in the church. And I don't want to speak on it because I don't know the details, but there would be precedent for that already.
Okay, so those conspiracy theories aren't necessarily unfounded or totally, you know, just extremely far
There
out
are
there.
infiltrators. There are corrupt people. That's indisputable. That's definitely true.
And I think it's always been that way too, though.
It's always been that way, but there's a new character to it now that we're in this like globalized world with globalized communication. And I'm pretty sure it was like over 100 of the cardinals who were voting were appointed or elevated rather by Pope Francis. So already allied with him and probably aligned with him on a lot of issues and his general perspective. I was hoping, and I could find out that this was a great choice later on. I was hoping that the new Pope elected would either be quiet and not comment to the media, or if he's outspoken at all, be outspoken on the Islamization of the West, mass apostasy in the West, and the pro-life and gay issues aside, because that's already a given, and then also protecting traditional liturgy, which is the only thing that I think is really bringing young people back into the faith. In the West, at least.
Well, one of the big trends that we've talked about quite a bit is that young people are shifting further and further to the rights. There was a poll that we talked about a couple weeks ago where faith in Jesus Christ was on the rise among Gen Z, which is interesting because it was not about ages. It was about the generation. Meaning when you look at a poll that tracks 18 to 29, what you're looking at is an ever-moving tide of people. And so 29-year-olds become 30, they're out. They don't count anymore. And so, of course, you'll end up seeing if younger people are more conservative, that number goes up. But among Gen Z, as they're aging, they're more likely to adopt Christianity as their faith. Very interesting stuff. Let's jump to this next story from The Guardian. Federal prosecutors open criminal investigation into New York Attorney General Letitia James. Lock her up. And another bit of news. I don't know if you guys saw this. New York State just slipped, I think it's $10 million into their state budget to pay her legal bills.
Jesus.
So it is happening. For those that have been saying, why won't Pam Bondi and the DOJ go after these corrupt people? It hath begun. They're going after Letitia James for mortgage fraud. She filled out paperwork claiming that her primary residence was going to be in Norfolk, Virginia, while she was the New York AG. You can't do that. And so it was Bill Pulte, who's the head of, what's his
Federal
department?
Housing Finance Administration.
Amazing. I cannot believe it. That the first, maybe actually, I think Doge had the first criminal recommendations. But I suppose one of the biggest, the first actual play against the corruption from the Democratic Party came from housing.
Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible here. I mean, you look at it. So this happened in the accusations being made against her was that she considered her primary residence to be in Virginia in 2023. Now she became AG in 2019. So 4 years later, and she was doing this as she was prosecuting Trump for a similar but much lesser crime.
The exact same thing.
But on a much lesser scale is my point. This is blatant fraud. This is mortgage fraud. We've got insurance fraud on top of that, this is we're talking about Virginia, which is famous for not being the state of New York. New York state statute actually requires that if you are an elected official, your primary residence must be in the state of New York, or your seat could be declared vacant by the legislature. So I mean, she's actually in some sort of, it's possible for her to even lose her seat over this.
And this isn't the only thing she did, though. She lied about how many units were in a property. She said it was 4 when it was supposed to be, but when it actually had 5, so that she could get a more residential loan to save her tons of money. And she did the same thing with the insurance, so the insurance was less. She's done this on multiple levels, and I'm finally happy they did something about it. I first heard about this, Sean, that was on last night, reported about it a month ago, that they found it. But yeah, she's in a lot of trouble.
This isn't enough, though. That's what I want to say. I don't want to celebrate this too much yet, because they have to actually put these people in cuffs. That's what Americans want. That's what middle America wants. When I talk to them, and I spend a lot of time talking to these people. I'm from Kentucky. I talk to my dad is even asking me, when are we going to see perp walks? When are we going to see these people being arrested? Because we haven't actually seen an arrest of any corrupt politicians yet, at least on the federal level. We heard something earlier today that me and Tim, before we were on here, talking about in Texas, I believe, that Attorney General...
Oh, yeah, 6 Democrats were indicted for fraud, including a judge.
Yeah. We need that on the federal level. Yeah, we have this here. Even if you're talking about these files that are on the desk ready to be processed, give the American people something. We need to start seeing these perp walks. And, I know there's a lot to go through, but, man, I just, come on.
Well, I mean,
how about lock them up?
Lock them up.
I mean, it is important to get... to actually produce results for the American people. There are people that really, really want to see some kind of justice. There's so many assumed crimes, and there are a lot of people that are that just don't have the patience that they should, to be honest with you, because it does take, you want them to have a solid case. It takes time to produce a case. Just because you're like, well, we know, and this happened and that happened, it takes time to go and actually run down the information, go and actually follow up and make sure that you have a case, because you don't want to have these people get arrested and then walk, or to have some kind of problem procedurally.
But they've had all this information for so long now.
I get it, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you have them dead to rights, because if you don't and they find some way to get around, everyone's going to be way more pissed about that.
A lot of these things have statute of limitations that are like time, the clock is ticking. Like, we need to get these people.
I agree, Phil, but I think we're well past that kind of decorum, in that when they went after Trump, they just made it all up. So the idea
they found the person and then found the crime later. That's what they did to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, when he was charged with the business records, 34 felonies, those weren't felonies. They just literally fabricated fake crimes and then convicted him. So I'm at the point where I'm like, I literally don't care. They could literally come out and just be like, she's guilty, and I go, okay.
Yeah. Well, you think about it.
As the Democrats did it. I mean, that's what they've done.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I want to see results, and I want to see results that stick. So I get that people are impatient, but I want to see people actually going to jail. And the best way to ensure that people go to jail is to have an airtight case, or as close to an airtight case as you can.
Well, we're still having elections. We're having a lot of local elections that are happening. We're having state elections. You've got gubernatorial elections coming up here. And if we don't see results, if people that went out to vote for Trump in November, if they don't see tangible results in terms of arrests, a lot of people voted for arrests. That's what they want to see. I mean, that was one of the biggest issues. Right behind immigration was weeding out corruption in the federal government. And if they don't see any results, why are they going to go out and vote? Because they're going to feel like they've been lied to.
It doesn't matter how airtight your case is or how much evidence you have. You put Letitia James in front of a jury, right? In front of a jury in New York, she's getting off no matter
Why
what.
New York?
Yeah, you're going to do it. You can move the venue, right?
West Virginia.
Yeah, right, there we go.
That's what they did to Trump. Let's have her criminally tried in West Virginia
we'll
and see how she does.
We'll see. But if they do it in New York or if they do it in DC,
Actually, it's likely
Virginia.
they might, or they could possibly do it in Jersey too. If they do it in New Jersey, who's the?
New
think about that.
No, New Jersey.
Well, New Jersey.
Unless it's South Jersey.
No.
North Jersey
The
is
location
blue.
of the crime.
Yeah.
So she was trying to buy a house in Virginia, but what bank was she using and where was she filing? It could be New York or Virginia.
But if you put her in front of a jury in New York, forget it. I mean, like they're gonna love her, and they're gonna.
The jurors will literally stand up, and the judge will say, "How do you find the defendant guilty?" But she's free to go because we don't care.
100%. 100%.
No, the reason that I say New Jersey is because they're definitely going to move it out of New York. They're not going to have it in New York. They might agree on some middle ground there. If you put Alina Abba up there, I'm telling you, at a minimum, you're going to rip her to shreds. I'm just saying, it's going to be embarrassing.
A judge would have to approve change of venue, and the judges won't do that to her. Like, I don't think I could never see it going outside of New York. It depends on where she
You were
filed.
talking about ticks earlier, Tim. Look at that. I got ticks on the pen here.
Are you kidding?
Tick on the pen?
On me right now.
What is a tick?
Yeah, it's on the pen.
Go get rid of it.
Smash it, kill it.
You can't smash
crush
them.
it.
You can't crush ticks. You got to drown them or burn them.
You can cut them in half.
Okay, drop them in that Coke.
You're clearly not.
Here, put it in this thing.
I told you that it's tall grass in tick season.
Jesus.
Don't let them escape. Just drop it.
Burn
Of
them.
course, it's near me.
Here you go.
No.
Close that. It's tick season right now. I told you.
Drown that thing.
Are there more? I'm terrified.
No, that's the last one on the whole
Is it
property.
in there? I think you screwed it in the.
We got him,
Let me see.
Mary.
I think that's a pretty good place for him.
No, it's screwed in the cap. I think somehow it was just skeeving me
Cap.
out.
What do you mean?
Like it was crawling on the cap when he twisted it on.
Like you smashed them?
I don't know.
Hopefully.
They don't really smash like that though.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't. No, they don't.
No, they really don't.
If they're big-
you can't kill them with your fingers, but they will. If you get a rock and a
Is this-
hammer, they will smash.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, Letitia
if that starts
James,
crawling out of there,
not unlike an insect that sucks blood, is causing great problems for our country and deserves to be in prison.
Yes, I completely agree. I just want, like I said, my concern is I want these things, these prosecutions to be effective, and I understand that we can all come up with all kinds of ways where they should be, and you know, the American people would be fine if they bent the rules, whatever. I just want to make sure that these people actually go to jail for breaking the law.
Yeah, but this really shows you how sure she was that Donald Trump was never going to be president again.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was actively committing federal crimes.
Yep.
I mean, obvious federal crimes while she was prosecuting Donald Trump. That is the most insane part about this. It's unbelievable. I mean, actually, it's totally believable, to be honest. But
Well, I mean, the Democrats have felt like they're above the law, and I think that
have
even
been.
though they reject the idea completely when you present them with it, I think that underneath that they kind of felt like, well, yeah, you know, it's okay when we do it. There's always been a hierarchy when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, or not always. The last 20, maybe 25 years, there's been a hierarchy when it comes to Democrats and Republicans. When Democrats do it, it's okay. When Republicans do it, throw the book at them. Look at what happened with the whole Summer of Love. There's all kinds of rioting and firebombing of federal buildings and stuff. And then on January 6th, there's a riot at the Capitol, and all those people get wrapped up. Right, you know, they're chasing them down, going to their house 6 months later, whatever. They wrapped everybody up that they could. There has been a hierarchy, and Democrats have expected that.
are we getting back into the Summer of Love, Tim?
I don't know.
Summer of Love 2.0?
I don't know yet. It's hard to say. We had the Tesla terror attack, so that's indicative of yes.
Yeah. But look at New York.
but the far left protests in Portland and in UW were actually fairly weak.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at what's going on in New York right now, as we
Oh, right.
speak.
There's riots currently right now. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. But New York's always been rather tame.
But NYPD's actually moving in. That's the best part.
They do this. Anyway, yeah, riots right now are happening in New York, so.
But talk about what happened yesterday. This is what I mean. This is where the difference happened. Where yesterday they stormed into that library at Columbia University, and they weren't allowed back out unless they identified themselves.
Yes.
And if they wouldn't identify themselves, they were arrested for trespassing. So, and then ICE put detainers on all of them, so they'll end up. So now they have their identities, because if you get arrested, you're unmasked.
Yep.
They have your identity.
Did you guys see that story about the teenager, the 19-year-old who got pulled over, didn't have a license, lied about having one? Turns out her and her whole family were illegal immigrants. They're being deported.
Yep.
My response was, can we launch a give, send to go for the ICE agents?
But the way the LA Times posted, I don't know if you saw the headline on that. It's like, undocumented immigrant takes a wrong turn and ends up being arrested by ICE. It's like, okay, yeah, took a wrong turn, driving without a license, been in the country.
Wait, sorry. It was Detroit woman took wrong turn, ends up deported. And it's like, what are you not telling me?
That was also a wrong turn that was into a military base. I don't know if they told you that part.
Was that the story?
Yeah.
Because the Detroit woman accidentally drove into Canada.
No, so this is a different
wow.
story. So this is another wrong turn story. This one was from today. Even Bill Malugin from Fox was ripping it apart on X. He's like, oh, well, here's a part of the time that the LA Times didn't tell you about. So is the one you're talking about Detroit, or are you talking about the one from LA? From
A Detroit woman, I'm doing air quotes for those who are just listening, drove on the bridge that accidentally went into Canada. And when she turned around, they said, who are you? And she was like, and they're like, you're an illegal immigrant, you're getting deported.
Yep. All right, so she tried to cross another border illegally is what you're telling me.
She accidentally tried to cross the border, and they caught her.
More of that. I want the fear of God into these people. That's the only way they're going to self-deport. If they're constantly living in fear, if you're here illegally and you're living in fear that you're going to be, it is much better. Like, this is a PSA for all the illegals and watching right now. It is much less nice to be deported by ICE, held in a jail. You go to, I think one of the places you go first, you go to like Louisiana, and they hold you in an ICE facility for a few weeks, and then they send you to whatever country, and Libya is next on the list. I don't know if you heard that.
So I saw a tweet by someone, his name's Johnny Mag on X, and he was talking about a DC restaurant owner says that ICE visited his restaurant yesterday, and it was very concerning because his employees are scared and might not come back to work. So he's admitting that
Why won't they come back to work?
Hiring illegal. Right. They should arrest the store owner, and he should face jail time. There are people out there that will swear up and down that Republicans don't want that. Well, I don't care what you call me. I want people that employ illegal immigrants to go to jail.
Knowingly.
Knowingly, yes. Thank you.
They all know.
Well, it's kind of a don't ask, don't
if
tell
they've got fake
situation.
Social Security cards and they're defrauding the business owner, like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, but if you
Isn't there E-Verify?
Yeah.
So
In DC?
pretty sure that's a federal
The point is, look, if these people won't, if the people that are here illegally cannot find work, they will. That is more pressure to self-deport them. The government should be applying pressure in every way it possibly can to get the people that are here illegally to leave.
So
I got it. We'll deport the business owner.
Get him out of here.
So I don't know if you saw this part, but one of those business owners in D.C. is Nora O'Donnell's husband. You know, the fake CBS News.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Send them both out of here.
Right, and so they initially tried to say, oh, it's political, it's weaponization of government. It's like, okay, so are you admitting that your husband is hiring illegals? I probably wouldn't touch this story if I were you, Nora. I would maybe not highlight the fact that your husband's hiring illegals.
So is E-Verify only for businesses with a certain minimum of employees
I think
currently?
it's for anybody.
Anybody?
Yeah, I think it's
Really?
anybody. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think we just got to create the right incentive structure to get like people to self-deport. That's the biggest thing. We
Aren't
have
they
to
doing
make
it
the
already,
incentive
though?
to make
Just
it easier. I think
$1,000
just-
and a free one-way flight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might work for some people, but there are going to be people that can say, oh, well, if I think about this logically, if I stay here for this amount of time, I earn over $1,000 really easily under the table. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying we have to come up with the right incentive to make it happen. I don't know what that
How
is.
about you're going to get arrested and be in jail forever?
That
I don't
doesn't
know.
scare a lot of people. Some people know that some people are illegal as hell every single day.
Do you know how much it costs to deport somebody?
Yeah, it's like $17,000.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
It's wild.
Okay.
Why?
So we have
E-Verify
to at least start
only-
meeting them at $17,000 or something like that to get them to leave. We have to be
E-Verify
reasonable. A lot of
only
Indians already
includes
left.
employers who have self-reported they have at least 5 employees at the time they enrolled in the program. Businesses with fewer than 5 employees are not included in the database. If a business has multiple locations, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of them will be enrolled. So there are just a lot of ways that you can create
around it.
loopholes and then like create a different LLC over here and shift things around and get around it.
The federal government hasn't been enforcing it for the longest time anyway, so
True.
people just really haven't been worrying about it.
Let's jump to the story from the New York Times. Texas Attorney General announces vote fraud and harvesting charges. A county judge, 2 city council members, and a former county election administrator are among Ken Paxton's targets as he elevates his election integrity accusations to criminality. A half dozen people, including a county judge, this we know, vote harvesting. The charges surprised Latino voting rights activists who had insisted that a series of law enforcement raids on political operatives and voting organizers, some who were in their 70s and 80s, appeared to have been political. They say at the time, the League of United Latin American Citizens, one of the nation's oldest Latino civil rights organizations, said that officers conducting the raids took cell phones, computers, documents, etc. Now 5 people, all with ties to Democratic candidates, are accused of illegal vote harvesting. It's beginning. It's got to, you were saying this a moment ago, it's got to get to the federal level. But this is good news that Ken Paxton is doing this in Texas. And I think if you stop the voter fraud, Democrats never win again.
Well, I mean, and plus the fact that we're deporting all of their voters, that kind of helps too.
Well, this is the issue. They're not their voters.
Right.
Illegal immigrants boost their electoral vote count and their congressional
Seats. Yeah.
So it's not that illegal immigrants vote. It's that it gives them, but barely.
Census.
Like, yeah, the issue is they're counted in the census. And this is look, I'm going to tell you, this is a mistake conservatives keep making. Democrats don't want illegal immigrants to vote. That means they can vote against them. They want illegal immigrants who count towards the census in a Democrat majority district so they can't vote. So the illegal immigrants come in, have no say, are ruled over by a congressman who shouldn't even have a seat because not enough people. That bolsters the number, and then they vote for a Democrat for president.
Why isn't there enough political capital to actually, change that? Do we need what do we need to do to change that?
Let me tell you. Okay, I want you all at home to imagine you're playing a game of Monopoly with me. I'll be the banker. I'm going to keep pulling money out of the bank and putting it on my side no matter what you do. You want to keep playing?
Nope.
How do I keep winning? Well, you're cheating. Exactly. How are the Democrats able to muster up congressional bills, federal bills, pass things in Congress? They have extra congressional seats from bringing in illegal immigrants, boosting their numbers in the census, and then becoming sanctuary cities and states to stop the government from getting rid of their electioneering, their cheating. That's how they're doing it. Okay, how do you stop it? You mass deport the illegal immigrants.
Sure, but from a level of the federal government, do you need an amendment to change this, or do you just need an act of Congress, just a regular act of Congress?
Neither. You need a president.
Only citizens account toward the electoral vote.
Trump tried that, and the Supreme Court blocked him in his first term.
That needs to be a legislative act.
So now
that's what I mean. Is it just a basic legislative
For
act?
that, yes.
Okay.
And the Republicans could do it right now. Why won't they?
I don't know.
They're not doing anything right now. That's the worst part about this. You ask, okay, well, we can have this argument, but I swear this is a hill that
Hold
I'm
on, who's doing the UFO stuff?
Who cares?
Whoa.
Hold on.
It's Anna Paulina Luna.
Eric Burlson?
Burleson, yes.
See? You see, there you go. No, Anna Paulina is too busy trying to get women special privileges
Thank
to not
God.
show up to Congress.
She was debating coming on your morning show today, but she had to fly somewhere. So
I have tremendous respect for all the very, very great things that she's done. I will admit that she is one of the best we have in Congress, but I am offended by her efforts to get Congress to vote remote.
No, that is if you want to talk about a slippery
Proxy
slope,
votes.
that is a slippery slope
Not a
right there.
proxy
And the
vote,
fact that we killed an entire legislative week just because we had to deal with that little pet project honestly, it really changed my opinion of it. It changed a lot of people's opinion on it. Focus, guys. Come on.
I like her too. I just don't think that women should be in
she's
Congress at all anyway. So
She's a repeal the 19th.
I am. I really think that after being there and working on the Hill and for as long as I did, I should have never been there, and women definitely should. Yeah, I've heard a woman senator speak at the event we were at today, and she was nice and lovely and cute, and I'm thinking, man, you should really not be here. You should be home.
Well, I mean, you keep seeing that. Who's that? What's it? Brittany Peterson that keeps lugging around her child on the house floor, carrying it around as a prop
while going. I can't bring him here because I'll get sick.
And then yesterday she's doing this. I'm in the middle of an interview with the New York Times. Watch this video of me changing my baby on the office floor.
It's
like,
so
what are you
inappropriate.
doing?
And it's like
Resign.
exploitative.
Right.
of
If
your
you
child.
can't do the job, resign. This is not for you.
I want you all to imagine this. I want you to imagine, what's her name? Brittany
Brittany Peterson.
Brittany Peterson. She gets hired as a firefighter, And they're like, we've got a burning building, and she's bouncing her baby, and she's like, let me go in. I can't bring my baby into the fire, but I have to.
I'm going to fight the fire by proxy. That's what.
It's honestly, it's like
baby's
using
holding
your
the
baby
hose.
as a prop, though. It's like exploiting the child. Like, hey,
her baby
look
is
at
very
me.
cute.
I'm working. Cool. But like, you shouldn't. It feels very performative in general,
It does.
and you shouldn't have your.
Ma'am, you have a
should be
very
at home
cute child.
taking care of your child.
Now leave.
That proxy voting thing wasn't just for women, though. That was the thing that she kept saying, oh, it's only for women. It's for new moms. No, it's also for dads. So you could have you could have your wife pop out a baby, and you get to take off work for the next 8
I
weeks.
didn't like proxy voting during COVID. There was lots of things, and they gave up some. They allowed proxy voting during COVID, and that was terrible too. We shouldn't have it. You're elected to go there, be present for the votes, and vote. Then that's what you need to do. You're not giving your vote to somebody else who can change it. Obviously, they would see how you changed their vote, but like, you can't give up your vote like
You work like 6 days a month.
That's not true. That's a lie. That's
It's
a
actually
myth.
not a lie. It's not a myth. Okay, I'm sorry. When you go out and
It's 100% a myth, and they're on recess, right? Like, no, they're in their districts and they're working their butts off, and they're actually meeting
I'm
with
sure, I'm
constituents.
sure.
I worked there with them forever. It was my busiest time.
Hold on. Do you mean working their butts off as in calling donors?
No. Well, they do that, but that's only every.
do that.
They
I
do
like
do that. But I will say, but that's only like every other year. Right. So, but when they are on recess, they're meeting with businesses, they're meeting with constituents. I think that was some of our busiest times.
Who did you work for?
I worked for Congressman Gerlach, Congressman Costello, and Randy Weber.
So you're saying I worked for these 3 good dudes who worked hard. The rest of them suck.
No, there's a lot of people that work like that. But anyway, we had
And they're all largely on the Republican side, you say?
yeah. Randy Weber has the furthest right ideology score in all of Congress. So yeah,
We
he's
must
the
really
best.
like him.
Yeah, we did.
Did he look you in the eyes and say women shouldn't be in Congress?
No, but he would probably be like, Lisa, chill out. He's yelled at me a couple times about things. He was on the show with me here. I brought him here. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're gonna defending members of Congress, defend their record over this past
I'm not doing
5
that.
months.
I'm not doing that.
They've been working really hard, haven't they? I think they
but there's a
passed
difference
5 bills.
between-
5 bills? What have they done?
Why do you want them to pass more bills? Here's that's I don't like that either.
I want to codify Doge cuts.
Okay,
I want to codify
fair.
executive orders. We're
Agreed.
not doing that.
I want
Trump's
individual
budget.
spending bills, right? Yeah, I want
Pro 2A
individual spending bills
legislation.
instead of these omnibuses. I get that, but you can't act like, oh, what are they doing? How many bills do you pass? Like the whole thing is we want less things being passed. If they're going to be obstructionary in certain ways, that's a good thing too. You guys have to be
But
like a little
no, that
more-
only depends on the bill because right now there are 2 Pro 2A bills. What is it? Let's see, HR 404 and HR 2395. Both of them are Pro 2A bills, and they're being held up in committee by Republicans.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So, like, but the point is, there is legislation that can be good, especially when it repeals stuff. This is taking things off the NFA that shouldn't be on the NFA. But so it's not a matter of we don't want legislation. It's that the legislation that
we
want to
is
get
not
passed,
getting moved forward.
Yeah.
But you guys have to understand, like, I people say this, like, oh, we need to get rid of the rhinos or the non-base people. And I agree. I would like them all gone. I would like everybody to be
We
a
say
Christian
cringe.
nationalist.
The cringe.
Right. I'd like everybody to be a Christian nationalist, okay? Right? But that's not going to happen. But what you have to realize is these people that are moderates or rhinos or whatever, they are in purple districts and they are voting what that constituency wants or they won't get reelected, right? So you have to understand that a lot of the agenda isn't going to be pushed.
I don't care if they get reelected right now.
I agree.
If they give Trump
But
what
they're
Trump
not-
needs, they will never lose another election again.
Okay, but they're not but in their heads and in their hearts, they really aren't Team MAGA. And you have to get all of those people to agree. That's like the hardest part. And I think that's why Congress gets gridlocked a lot and people don't understand that, or they don't really, they know what we want as a party or what we want as like further.
What if we passed a bill that stated every time Congress is gridlocked, they all get a peddling?
a paddling.
Who are you going to get to pass it? Who are you going to get to pass it? You see what
explain
I'm
this.
saying?
No, not really. Because honestly, if you're that useful, if we're not doing anything anyway, what is the point of having the majority? I don't care if you.
No,
use your
I
seat.
agree
Let's
with you
disband
on
Congress.
Yeah, right, well, I'm good with that. I'm good with that too. You know what?
No, I agree. Listen, I agree with you. We should like take our power and run with it, right? We should be passing everything we want right now while we have a majority. The problem is there is a lot of people in these purple swing districts that will fight you tooth and nail and be obstructionary, not because like they don't like Trump, because they're so they really feel like that in their hearts. That's why the people and their constituency they believe is more moderate. They're not further right doing the things that we want. you have to understand the actual landscape of how Congress works, and it sucks. But
So what you're saying is, too many people in this country are really dumb.
Correct.
So we have to pass.
Yes.
So
That's
hold
no,
on,
what
let me
we really
finish.
need to do is-
So we have to pass laws based on stupid people who don't know what's going on,
we
and
need
that
people
solves
to
the problem.
stop voting. We need to
This is the problem. These members of Congress that are squishy, and they're like, listen, back home, the people there, they don't understand what you're saying. So I'm going to vote on bills that make what they want to happen. It's like, listen, these people were telling us 2 + 2 = 5.
Agreed.
Here's a test. When you go to the DMV, when you're registering to vote, before they hand you the voter registration, they say 2 + 2 = what? And if you go 5, they go, never mind. And they crumple up and throw in the garbage.
This is why we should have tests for voting in general, because honestly, the majority of the population is stupid.
Kung fu test.
And they don't most like I'm
we
doing
repeal
so
the
much-
19th?
What?
Repeal the 19th? Oh, okay. All right, that's pretty base. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We should do a lot more repealing than just the 19th. There's a whole bunch
Only
of
property
amendments.
owners?
Yeah, not even property owners, but there has to be some. We've talked about this
Only service guarantees citizenship. Only those who have provided 2 years of civic duty in some form. That doesn't mean military. Nobody else can vote.
I like that.
That taxpayer?
Maybe. But it's funny because
has to be a qualification.
I tweeted that should only net taxpayers be allowed to vote? And people don't understand what that means. So they all said yes. And then we're posting like, I paid $100 in taxes, so I get to vote. And everyone's like,
Oh, no.
no, you don't.
No, yeah, I agree.
I do think only net taxpayers voting is actually the way to do it, because if you create a system where people are getting money for free and then they can vote, they're going to vote for free money.
Correct.
More. And that's communism. That's why all communist countries collapse. Because what is it? You run out of someone else's money?
yes.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
There was this.
Margaret Thatcher
There's this
quote.
great story, maybe an internet urban legend, where a teacher was teaching a lesson on economics, socialism, and communism, and said, starting now, we're going to switch from the capitalist grading system to a socialist grading system. I will now average out the grade of everyone in the class, and everyone will get the same grade. So the hard workers take a test, they get A's. The average people get C's, and the slackers fail. He says, okay, everybody ended up with a C-. So the average people were like, whatever. The hard workers were like, what? I busted my ass for this. And the slackers went, woohoo. So the next time the test came around, the hard workers were just like, I'm not going to bother. I'll just get a C if I do nothing. Then everyone got a D because people were just slacking off. By the next test, everybody failed because nobody cared anymore. And everyone said, what's the point? If I work really hard, I get nothing anyway.
But now, if you're a socialist, you get everybody gets a free private jet. That's how
Bernie.
we operate now. We segue into old Bernie there. I
Let's
can't
get it. Let's
believe
get it.
that was real.
Here we go.
I'm telling you.
Let me grab it. Let me grab it.
Love it.
We have this story from the Post-Millennial. Bernie Sanders has no apologies for using private jets on Fight Oligarchy tour. It is. Did they not embed the tweet? Come on, guys. Post-Millennial. Katie, what are you doing? Self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders defended his use of private jets. He spent more than $221,000 on luxury aircraft with him and AOC. He made an appearance on Fox News. We have the video here.
Obviously, there is a lot to be.
Okay, I'm not going to dig
against
through
right now.
that, so I'll just find the post on X because it's funny. And Bernie Sanders, he said, I apologize for nothing. So here's what I ended up doing. I actually looked up the jets they were using. Guys, let me tell you, the jets they were using, no joke. Here, there's a better one than that. Let me find this one.
You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people.
Can you get the screen?
You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United?
Yes.
Waiting, 30,000 people are waiting. That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's scratching the itch that voters want to hear from?
I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear
From a guy flying on private jets. Come
action
on.
to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
What a
How do you
smarmy
say that?
scumbag. So I looked up this jet It looks like I think it's N604XT is the tail number. Let's do this again.
Sure.
Let's see.
Doesn't he have like 2 mansions too? One on a lake?
Well,
and-
he's
Three.
got multiple
Three.
houses.
Okay, right.
It's a Bombardier Challenger. So it's
a Challenger 604. Challenger, right?
Yep.
So it says Challenger 604. So let's take a look. Let me pull up an image of that one.
Is his excuse that him and AOC just need the security?
No, they need
Like-
the time. It's the fast. It's fast.
Wait, ladies and gentlemen, look at this.
Oh, yeah, that's top-
Now let
top
me
tier.
tell you.
So
Let me
very
tell
nice.
you guys. I was talking about this earlier today because I sometimes fly private. And have you flown with me before, Phil?
Yeah.
We've gone
Multiple
someplace.
times.
And
Must be nice. Must be nice, guys. I'm
we-
invited
we-
on the next one.
we don't fly on these. These
No,
are
no.
extremely expensive. So when I call the broker and say, I'm going to New York next week, I'm doing a series of shows. Phil will be handling the Friday show next week. So we call our broker and I say, I got to get to New York in an hour because we got to do the morning show and then I have to be there in an hour to do these other shows.
You
What do
have to do that morning show.
I absolutely do.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one.
Yes.
Right. So so I can't cancel. I think we have members of Congress coming.
Correct.
I cannot cancel on members of Congress. So what do? I call a charter. I think the total cost is going to be like, I don't know, $12,000 something round trip. It's a lot of money. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 people who go. It's a round trip flight. It is expensive. We are not flying on a jet. We are flying on what's called a turboprop. They have no bathrooms. They have no amenities. You can't stand up, but you leave when you want to leave. You land where you want to land, and you get there from here to New York about an hour. So it's very, very fast. Now they come to us and they say, wouldn't you like one of these jets like this one? And I say, what's it cost? They go, $30,000. And I go, yeah, no way. You can strap me to a gyrocopter if I get there on time. I will take a single engine Cessna and sit in the back if it gets me there in an hour. I'm not spending 30 grand on this.
But that's different. You're paying for it. He's not paying for it.
His pack,
There's a campaign or pack or whatever.
but you know what? People are donating to this. My point is they don't need to fly on a Challenger 604.
True.
To get where they want to go, they can fly on cheaper turboprops that will get them there in time. They are choosing luxury aircraft, and then Bernie's going like, it's the only way I can get there. Brother, you don't need to fly on that thing to get where you need to go when you're puddle jumping town to town to do these rallies. So he's lying. He could take a third of the cost charter on a turboprop, but let me tell you, when I was talking to my broker, it wasn't my broker. I was talking to another guy, a rich guy, and I was like, oh, yeah, we were flying private. He's like, oh, what you flying on? And I was like, King Air. And he went, oh. And I'm like, okay, like these ultra rich guys who have their own jets, they do net jets and stuff where you buy a percentage of a fleet and then you can fly whenever you want. It's cheaper to do that and you can sell your shares later on. They're flying on these things. They're flying on jets you can stand up in. You're in the middle. You're flying. You stand up. You walk into the back. You go to the bathroom. Ours, we don't have bathrooms. Actually, sometimes they do. And what you do is in the middle of the plane, like where you walk, you'll walk to the back. There's a seat that you lift up, and it's a toilet, and then there's like a cupboard. I guess you call it like a dresser door that you swing open so that it covers the middle row that no one can see.
I don't want to go on that one with you.
You know.
I'm
No,
out
it's
on
fun
that
either
one.
way. We've also flown on Cirrus.
SR-22?
Yeah, the super tiny ones.
Yeah.
It's like flying in an SUV because it's cheap and it's fast, but it's literally like sitting in an Uber with no bathroom.
It also sounds scary.
Oh yeah, and it's shaking because it's so small.
Yeah, no, I want no parts of
Anyway, my point is, I am a capitalist. I am a proud capitalist. Communists are awful. Correct. When I make money and I want to do business that I think is important for my company, I will fly on any private jet I feel like it. And I don't fly on these. And these commies, these socialists, are choosing to fly on these bigger luxury jets. I'm going to stress this. Even if they needed a longer range flight, because some of these turboprops don't have as long a range, you don't need a jet that big. There are 4-seat Hondas that are substantially cheaper that have really long ranges. Bernie is a liar. He is a guy with 3 houses. He's got vacation properties. He's a millionaire. And you know what the worst thing is? Not the worst thing, but the funniest thing? When Bernie became a millionaire, he stopped saying the millionaires and the billionaires.
Yeah.
He used to go, the millionaires and the
Now
billionaires.
it's just people at the top.
Now it's just the billionaires. And I'm like, Bernie, you're still allowed to criticize millionaires if you're a millionaire. See, the thing is, for me, I have no problem criticizing millionaires. Ultra wealthy individuals largely liberals, who are dumping money into psychotic policies to burn our country to the ground. I think it's absolutely fair to criticize some dude who's got $100 million from whatever, and he's funding Democrats who are burning down their cities. Totally fine. I am also a millionaire. When Bernie stopped saying millionaire, it shows you who he really is. Bernie is a guy, his whole life, was looking through the keyhole of a mansion, watching everybody dance in the beautiful ballroom, jealous, stomping his feet, banging on the door saying, let me in. And they said no. So he turned around and looked at the people and said, you know, these people are evil and bad. But the moment they opened the door, he said, see you later. Hopped on a private jet and flew off.
That's all the left is jealous.
Yep.
Always. Any policy, look at anything they're doing. It's always them jealous of somebody else.
I mean, do you have to be, stupid or totally disingenuous to continue believing or at least spouting the talking points that they use and say, oh, the climate change, you can't be flying on the private jets because...
You just have to be hateful of people that are successful in the same way that most leftists are. That's really what it boils down to. It's envy. They hate people that have done things that they can't do. That they hate people that are successful. So
here's what you do. Here's what I'm going to do from now on. Anytime I fly private, I'm going to hire a $10 an hour climate change activist to get on the plane with me. And then when people are like, oh, what are you doing flying on a private jet? Well, it's the only way me and my climate change activist friend could get around, just like Bernie Sanders.
Do you ever? So I do book some of the travel for the people that come on here, and I'm constantly booking flights now. You know, they all have like admissions. Like they will tell you when you're booking like a regular commercial airfare, like it has this such and such admissions or whatever, and this one's more eco-friendly.
Oh yeah.
Like is anybody
As
actually?
if anyone gives a shit.
Right. Like is anybody actually taking that into consideration when they're booking their
Not Bernie.
commercial flights? I don't know.
No.
Or is that just a virtue signal? That's
If
the airlines
they
are doing.
are rich enough to have the luxury belief in things like climate change, they're not flying commercial. So
That's what I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Bernie Sanders of the world.
So bad.
Yeah, Bernie's is old, and he's probably thinking to himself, I finally made it. It's my turn now.
I mean, it's likely there is a lot of that,
Yep.
He,
It's my turn.
yeah.
He says
old is he
he's
now?
on the campaign trail. What's he campaigning
83.
for? Is he up again?
Nah.
Isn't he tired?
I'm tired. I'm tired of looking at him.
Okay, so no, his re-election isn't until 2030. So what's he campaigning for? Are we
Well,
doing
he's
an
not-
AOC
he's helped- he's
Sanders
eight-
ticket?
isn't
He
he
has to
83
go to
years old?
Coachella.
He's got to go to Coachella.
He's not going to try to go. He's not going to try to be the president. What he's trying to do is raise AOC's.
Yup.
Yeah, he's trying to.
He's
Hashtag.
83 years old.
Yeah, thank you.
He's got to go.
Well, I think
He has
we don't
plenty
have to
of
worry
places
about an
to settle
election.
down.
Time will
Vermont.
see him out of office.
Yeah, we'll definitely see him out of office, but he's already filed to run for
trying
re-election
not to
in
get the show
2030.
banned.
How long are we talking about? 5 more years? He's going to run again?
He'll be the senator for Vermont for as long as he can form a coherent sentence. He's not going to run for president because he's too old to do that. But he's raising AOC's profile. He's giving his socialist bona fides to AOC, trying to put her in a position where she can run for president. And I don't know that she's going to run in 28 or whatever, but she will run in the future. I'm
We're
not
building
sure.
a war
Yeah,
chest.
the only way AOC can win the presidency is if the Republicans also run a woman. If AOC is up
Yeah,
against a
a
man, she
disaster.
loses.
Maybe.
I think so.
Hopefully.
The issue is, have you guys ever seen the movie The Adjustment Bureau? I think it's called,
No.
with Matt Damon.
I don't watch movies.
You don't watch movies.
You ask me any movie, I've never seen it 9 times out of 10.
Have you ever heard of Music?
Yeah, I listen to.
Have you ever heard of
So this Matt Damon movie is, he's a congressman and he's running for Senate or whatever. He loses. Or no, I think he was running for Congress and he loses or something. And then as he's on stage giving his concession speech, he just goes, he's like, we had a saying back in Red Hook that if you fall... We didn't have a saying in Red Hook. Consultant told me to say that. I made it up. These shoes that I'm wearing, it's the right amount of scuff. They said they didn't want me to look like I'm too rich, but also not like a slovenly guy. And then he basically just starts saying all these things, becomes very popular, and then he wins the next election. That point right there about how consultants go to you and say, this color tie, these kinds of pants, this color suit is true. Because if I'm doing direct sales and I'm trying to convince just Nick to buy this delicious chocolate mint Numa, I take back everything I said about it. It tastes like Oreos, by the way. I have to do very little. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing for the most part. It's a one-on-one conversation. It's easy. But what if I'm trying to sell to 300 million people? A slight deviation, a slight percentage deviation can cost you that election. Even a few percentage points could be tens of thousands of votes. So the consultants come to you and they say, this is the color tie you're wearing, the shoes you're wearing, here's what to dress you up. You need a wife, you need kids. That's how you win. Those consultants are going to AOC and saying, you sound bad, you look bad, you're not going to win. That's what they're telling her.
That's what Bernie is doing, touring her around. But I think if she does end up running, whenever she ends up running, she's going to pull a Kamala Harris where she's going to suddenly abandon all of the radical left rhetoric that she has now. Like, Kamala was super woke before she ran.
AOC doesn't vote the way that
loose-lipped.
she speaks. To be honest, like she's not going up there. You never see, she doesn't deviate from her party. She doesn't, all the Democrats always vote together every single time, no matter how much, well, besides like the pro-Pally people, they vote a little bit differently sometimes. But, you know, so it's like, how do you get to that? How do you get to that point? How do you convince people? It seems like, if you're AOC, let me just ask you this. Just maybe you can. Yeah, I'm going to compare you to AOC. What do you do? How do you go on the campaign trail and try to win a general election in a district that is not, woke socialist like the Bronx out in New York?
You just
what do
become
you
a
do?
chameleon. You
become
just
a
do
chameleon.
whatever the consultants tell you. Dress differently,
Does that
speak
work?
differently, be whoever they tell you to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about consultants, talk about Ron DeSantis. Okay, how much did he spend? $200 million on consultants? How'd that work out? They told him to put boot lifts in?
Well, you can't fix a personality problem.
That was such a big mistake.
He has a personality problem that cannot be fixed.
He's
with
a
any
great
amount of
governor, though.
consultancy. Doesn't matter really if you're running for president, though. You need a personality.
I'm trying to find the video. Here, I'll just show you the pictures. Do you guys remember when AOC did that rally in New York?
Oh, I remember that.
And she got ragged on because she came out fist pumping. Okay.
She does the code switching too. Just
I'm
like
going to
Kamala.
say this, not to be disrespectful to people of raspy, high-pitched voices. I am just telling you, as someone who's done sales, sounding like this is not
The microphone.
But no, the point is, when you are selling something, if that's how you sound, you will not sell them. When AOC comes out, and again, this is not meant to drag her for anything personal, I am pointing this out politically. Her voice is too high, raspy, and shrill. And again, I am not trying to be mean. I'm stating this is a fact. She has a shrill, raspy voice. This doesn't convey strength in a political circumstance. This is why we see consistently taller guys with deeper voices tend to do better. Trump is a bully. People are looking for leadership, and there's leadership qualities, even if they're negative qualities.
But she is attractive, and that goes a long way. Like, she is physically attractive, whether most people think she is or not. She's
For a congressperson.
for a congressperson, she's physically
low.
attractive. Men find her attractive, even if they hate her politics. They still
So she'll win the
that does help.
the simp vote.
Oh, yeah.
Do people actually go to the ballot box and vote for that?
Dude, if a guy's ugly, or fat, I definitely don't want to vote for them anyway.
People
Look
don't.
at Trudeau. He did the yoga pose thing, and all the girls were like, "Wee!"
People don't know why. People will tell you they're voting on this and that, but they do not know why they vote. They vote largely on emotion.
Correct.
And emotion is strongly influenced by the charisma of the person you're voting for.
You guys have to, but like in behavioral economics or anything, you guys have to understand everything you wear is a signal, right? The way that you behave, the way that you speak, the clothes that you wear, it's all signaling of some sort. And so even if people are unaware of why they're voting, there's some heuristic or some stereotype in their brain that they're clinging on to because of what that person is signaling, whether it be their tie, their shoes.
Do you remember?
Real quick, because we have this picture here. This picture really exemplifies it. AOC and many women in politics are trying to emulate men.
Well, I was going to say men won't vote for that.
They will not vote for that.
No.
So the issue, I think, is that we talked about this with comedy. Female comics are awful. Nikki Glaser is great. When I watch Nikki Glaser's comedy, it sounds like a woman is talking and she's telling stories and making jokes, and it's really, really funny. Many other female comics tried doing comedy like men. Like, what's her face? Amy Schumer. She's up on stage acting like a guy, and it's like, but you're a woman. Like, men and women are different. There's different expectations, different biases, etc. AOC going up on stage and yelling as if it's a man rallying troops in a great battle for Scotland or something does not convince people. It seems fake. It doesn't work.
Nagging and shaming energy. And actually, I think that's why Marianne Williamson resonated with people, because she's soft-spoken and pleasant.
and
She acted like a woman.
she acted like a mom. So there's
True.
there's the patriarchal leadership and the matriarchal leadership. And the patriarchal leadership is the dad wagging his finger going, listen now. And that's what she's doing.
Can AOC take notes from Hillary on anything?
AOC could take notes from
Kim
Margaret.
Jong-un
She could take
outfits?
notes from Margaret Thatcher.
That's what I was going to say. That she
Yeah.
came off as a lady,
Yeah.
strong, but still a
And she was
lady
called
and
the
very feminine.
Iron Woman. You know, like there was no people didn't consider her weak at all. She was feminine and she came off like a lady, but they considered her to have an iron will, and that's the kind of female that could get elected. AOC's probably not that. I'm not sure if I'm sold that she couldn't get elected, because I do think charisma goes a long way, and I think that as much as we don't find her attractive, I think that there are a lot of people that do find her attractive and
Young
do find
people.
her charismatic, but.
I want to jump to this next story. Before I do, I want to give a shout out to Diva Dad, who said, all King Airs are not from the 80s. We still build them every day at Beechcraft in Wichita, Kansas, where I have worked for over 27 years. Love the show, Tim. Keep up the good work.
That rules.
I love the King Air. It gets me where I need to go. It is fast enough. It's not one of these super jets. So shout out to you guys manufacturing these things here in America. I got no beef.
So humble.
No, but there's people like Bernie want to fly on these
Challenge
Well,
at
that's
650.
that's purely for luxury, but also he's an old, frail man, and he needs to be comfortable.
Don't give him
Those
that.
King Airs aren't
All right.
cheap either, though. So I'm just saying, like, they
No,
make
I
a
think
good
they're
product.
Maybe he has
$3
a
to
weak
$5 million.
bladder. You don't know. He might have a health problem.
They have toilets.
He can't
They
hold
have
it for a
diapers.
couple hours.
That's actually true. But he doesn't need the really nice luxury one. You can get bathrooms that,
Maybe
But fair,
AOC
he's-
has IBS.
well,
No.
they have diapers.
I don't want to think about this anymore.
Let's jump to this next story. Ladies and gentlemen, from Newsweek, India-Pakistan 125 jets clash in one of the largest dogfights in recent history. They are saying this is one of the biggest dogfights since World War II. Okay, so India and Pakistan are going to war. How you guys doing?
Well, I know defense contractors here in the United States have a hard-on right now. All the Palestine simps have moved on to Pakistan. So Palestine, those people are going to be forgotten about here very shortly.
Isn't it crazy how the narrative just automatically repeats? Soon you're going to hear Pakistan is actually an open-air prison.
Right. Well, I'm waiting on the Pakistan Ministry of Health to say, 15,000 children are now dead. Like that.
So that's already been coming out.
Do you know about how Pakistan came to be? It was under colonization, and then there was the two-state solution. The Muslim majority nation divided from the Hindu majority nation. Now they're fighting.
slaughtering Hindus.
Yeah, it's
burning
funny.
Christian churches. Yeah.
People are pointing out the similarities between Israel and Gaza with India, Pakistan.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's not like they're really one for one, but there are similarities based on like colonial rule, two-state solutions. And but now we have two nuclear-armed nations, and they're getting into dogfights. So
So was that why I'm supposed to care? Besides the fact that
I
this
care
is like
because
pretty
of
crazy.
Islam.
Look,
There's a lot of Islam that has to do with this. Like,
well, it started because jihadis killed a bunch of people.
right, and they have terror cells all set up in India, and they've been doing this over and over again until India's like, we've had enough, right?
It's been happening for a long time.
A very long time,
People don't
and
admit that, yeah.
and people have no idea about it. If you want to follow anybody or learn about it, go to Amy Mac Rare, RAIR web. Like her website's awesome, but that's really the issue. And I think that Americans really don't understand, unless you've been to Europe and see what's really going on in there, how terrible the Islamization of the West is. And they just want to take over everything. No matter where they are, they want to take over everything, and they do it violently. And I think people forget that sometimes. And that's a big part of this problem right now.
How many of the Pakistanis in the UK are going back to fight for their homeland? Have you seen any? Have we heard any of that going on yet?
No, they're just too busy doing
But what
bad things to
do you
children.
mean? They are fighting for their homeland
They're all in
in
Belgium.
the UK.
In the UK. Oh, they're fighting to take over somebody else's homeland.
Yeah,
Well,
they're in Belgium and France.
That's what
rioting.
their cause is.
Right. So,
The concern is that if India escalates, if this escalates between the two nations, Pakistan has no chance against India's army. So the fear is they'll resort to low yield nukes. They don't have high yield. But India will then immediately retaliate with their low yield nukes. China has a stake in Kashmir as well, and then China is going to get involved. It does seem fairly isolated between the two, but India is part of the BRICS nation, so they may call for assistance, and then we'll see what happens. World War III.
Well, we say World War III, but luckily, I do feel pretty good with having J.D. Vance coming out today saying like, "What? This is not our problem.
It's not
We're
our
not gonna
problem,
get
but if
involved."
China gets involved, it can easily draw the rest of the world in.
Sure. Well, all I'm saying is that we don't have somebody like Joe Biden or Kamala that is directly controlled by the military-industrial complex that is itching to get into another war, especially one that has nuclear powers involved.
Here's an issue I see. People tend to think if it happened before, that is what is required for it to happen again. So with World War I, you had European nations conflicted and alliances. World War II, you obviously have Germany and all that stuff and alliances. World War III doesn't need to be the same exact thing. World War I and II are basically the same war. World War III could literally be Russia's currently at war in Ukraine. The U.S. and Europe are basically funding in a proxy war with Russia through Ukraine. Israel's at war with Hamas, Lebanon, Iran, the Houthi rebels. List goes on. You then have China attacking the South China Sea. World War III could literally just, at one point, we go, hey, I think at this point, with 6, 7 active wars, the world is at war. And then the question is, who is supporting who? So the U.S. is providing funding to Israel. The U.S. is providing is more aligned with India, Israel and India and Ukraine. So the U.S. is actively involved. Then you're going to end up with China being involved in much the same way. Then you'll end up with more proxy wars happening in other parts of the world. And then eventually everyone goes, hey, I kind of think everyone's fighting each other and it's World War III.
You know, it was Joel Berry, and I'm going to read it now, put out a good tweet that reminded me of this. He goes, is it a coincidence that Pakistan, a close ally of China, went to war with India just a couple weeks after America elected to move our Chinese manufacturing to India? Like, China definitely has their hands in all this.
China absolutely has their hands.
And then
if you follow the Chinese propaganda accounts, state propaganda accounts on X, they've already been tweeting that they're supporting Pakistan.
Yep.
So you know, in World War II, for instance, you had the North African Front. I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Germany and Japan never actually physically interacted with each other. Japan was the other side of the planet.
Right.
Germany was occupied in Europe. If we had a World War III, it doesn't have to be a catalyst event where one country does one thing, resulting in every country going to arms. It could literally just be, I mean, at this point, we've got India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, and the Israeli conflicts. If China escalates in the South China Sea, we could be dealing with 4 different regions erupting in war. Mm-hmm. At what point do we say the world is at war? When South America gets involved?
It's really when one of the major powers is like, you know, if France was at war, we were at war. You know,
we are, though.
No, but like active conflict, I think is what people think of it. But I think that we're already at war in multiple ways. I think war will look different too. It's not going to, I don't think it'll ever be really boots on the ground in the trenches like it was in World War I and II. I think that people, that's what they think of when they think, you know, are we at war or not? But
so
we're in a different
I'm
kind
curious,
of war.
just as more of an opinion question here for the group. At what point, because it seems like the majority of the MAGA voting base, and Trump ran on this platform that he didn't have any new wars during his first term. You know, the world was seemingly at peace for the most part during his first term. At what point could you convince the American people to say, okay, maybe we should get involved in this?
When something would happen on our homeland.
Okay, yeah.
That's when.
I think if there were an attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier, I think that would
not
convince a position that would convince a portion. If there were an attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier in international waters,
by who?
And Americans died,
it would have
I
to
don't
be significant.
I'm not going to get down to extremely specific, but I think that would get the people that are anti-war. It wouldn't get the America First people. It wouldn't get people like J.D. Vance to be like, yeah, we got to do it. But it would get a lot of normies that are not politically connected or politically aware into it.
Right.
And I'm anti-war. Like I don't want to be giving our money to anywhere. But if you start killing our people, I get a little juiced. I get a little like, let's go retaliate as hard as we can. Like I definitely fall into that trap. But for the most part, I don't want to be involved in other people's conflicts. Right. I certainly don't want any money going over there.
Well, I think that it's reasonable to say, well, if someone attacks U.S. military assets like an aircraft carrier or like an aircraft carrier strike group, because there's more than just a carrier, that does involve us, that they're bringing us into it.
I agree. And I don't want to hear why. Why did they do it? Like,
I don't
hear all
care.
these people say why, because those people were persecuted, so they felt like they had to. No, I don't care.
But
I don't want the answer to why.
Especially if it's not a place that we're shooting. So, for instance, right? So the Houthis got a lucky shot and hit an aircraft carrier. I don't think we should go and try to invade Yemen for that, right?
No.
That's why I asked that question. Yeah.
But if we're in the South China Sea and we're around India or around that, and we have an aircraft carrier around that area, and China takes a shot at an aircraft carrier, I think that would be something like, okay, well now this has changed the whole dynamic.
But I think it has to be significant. They can't just like take a shot. They would have to sink the whole thing.
I wouldn't say sink it, but if they hit it and killed, I mean, look, there's 3,000 people on an aircraft carrier. If they hit an aircraft carrier and 15 people die, I think that's going to be enough for Americans to be like, you did what?
I don't think that would be. I think it would have to be hundreds.
Either way, I mean, it's semantics we're arguing.
Yeah. But anyway, you asked.
No, I didn't. It was a good answer. You had a good answer. But, it's going to be very, very difficult. Even if China were to get involved for some reason, it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, to convince the American people that we need to get involved in a conflict between India and Pakistan. I mean, the most of the contact that people here in the U.S. have with Indians are when they get called on their phones for some Apple support scam. And that's it. That's all they know about India. So we don't need any more of that.
Yeah, I don't.
We were making thumbnails for the videos, and I was talking to our graphics team, and I was like, what the hardest thing about this is? Pakistani and Indian soldiers do not look cool. Like with Ukraine, with Russia, you've got dudes that look like they're decked out and ready for war. And then you look up these images of the Indian army and the Pakistan army, and they look like they just showed up from the first day of work,
Ukraine and Israel also have these TikTok thoughts that are posting thirst traps, getting our.
The U.S. does that too.
Good grief.
Yeah.
It's true.
And there are dumb guys who fall for it. What was the story? Bunker bunnies or something? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
What?
This is not U.S., right?
U.S. propaganda.
Luhan chick?
Yeah.
So U.S. propaganda, they've created these ideas that there are women who are like single and in the barracks who are like bang a bunch of dudes to trick young incel guys into joining the military thinking they're going to get laid.
The girl's really hot. She's really hot.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's not entirely divorced from reality. Like, I'm sure that goes on.
Yeah. And then there's
That's why
stories
women
about
shouldn't be there at all.
There's stories about how women will get orders for deployment, get pregnant right away.
It's all a big scam. It's a racket.
Yeah, shouldn't be there. No women in the military either, guys.
But not even administrative roles.
No.
What about janitorial?
Paperwork is
What about
fine.
making sandwiches?
Guys, come on. They're a distraction. No. They're catty. They're passive aggressive. No.
We go full Sparta.
Yes. Sparta would be great.
All right, let's jump to this next story, which is hilarious.
Those women were cool and had a lot to say.
Yes.
Here we go from ABC News. Trump appoints Fox News host Jeanine Pirro as top prosecutor in D.C. Yo, shout out to Judge Jeanine. This is amazing.
Is she temporary, though?
Yeah, interim. Because they're waiting for, was it Ed Martin, I think?
Yep. So he's got until May 20th.
Yeah.
Well, they'll confirm him real fast.
Yeah, that's why Trump did it.
I want to see. Somebody needs to go to Tom. Actually, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to go to the guy. So Tom Tillis, if you're watching for some reason, I'm going to come ask you. So get a good question, a good answer ready. Because he's the one that really took the lead on sinking Ed Martin. Now you've got Judge Jeanine. What is he going to say to that? What are you
Such a
gonna say
great
to that?
move.
But Trump.
Amazing move by Trump. He's allowed to appoint an interim while waiting for a confirmation. And when they're like, we're not going to take Ed, he's like, then you get Judge Jeanine instead.
And then after the 120 days is up, we get Judge Judy. I mean, we can keep going. We can do this every 120 days for the next 4 years, Tom Tillis. You want to play games? Let's play, baby.
And I don't think you get more based than Judge Jeanine.
No. Yeah, that's pretty true.
So DC needs to be cleaned up. And even if she is interim, I'm hoping that she cleans it up.
Yeah, I mean, I live in DC now. I just moved there. I've got an apartment where I can it's pretty high up and I can see what's going on the ground. It's in a pretty nice area, right? And I'm sitting there the other day, me and my girlfriend looking out the window. Oh, it's beautiful, everything. And then you see some guy rear end somebody else, carjack a car on the 695 expressway there, and the Metropolitan Police are just watching as he carjacks and then gets away. He's gone.
So it's nice and exciting.
Yeah, nice and exciting. You're right. And so you can't rely on the city police to do anything. They are choked out by the city council in D.C. And it's not even just that. You get the feds involved; they can handle carjacking and such. But it needs to go further than that. The reason that people, like, in my opinion, that Tom Tillis and a bunch of other rhinos are coming out against somebody like Ed Martin is not because of their virtue signaling. Oh, well, I didn't like what he said about J6. No, they're worried about their own crimes. They're worried about a D.C. That is the most powerful U.S. attorney in the country. Okay, these people have been hiding crap for years. And they know that you get the right U.S. attorney in there, they're going to be investigated. They're going to lose. I mean, they're going to end up in jail. I mean, there are a bunch of allegations that came out against Tom Tillis about various fraud and the credible allegations over the past day. They're terrified. Somebody like Judge Jeanine, she doesn't care. She's been saying this for years. Like, she's a bulldog. I would love to see her. I was excited when I saw this article on the way here. I was like, holy crap, this is real.
I busted out laughing when I heard that he was considering it. And then we were actually filming the Green Room show when the news broke that she will be the interim D.C. attorney. Glorious.
It's a great
move. Look, everybody's mad at Trump, acting like the Trump admin's got to do literally everything all at once. But we are getting some tremendous victories.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Doge has been fantastic.
I still don't think it's enough. I know.
Agree. I'm just saying,
we don't have a lot of time yet left. And then there's the campaign season's coming up. You needed to get as much done, as radical stuff as you could in the beginning of the term so that people, the moderate people that would vote, forget about it by the time the elections come for the next.
So like the shock and awe approach where you go in there and they can only, the mainstream media can only be mad about so many things at one time. That's
right. Like, and the closer you get to the primary, like the closer you get to the next election, they'll forget and they'll only remember the last couple of months of things and how they felt then. They're not going to remember what you did month 1 through 5.
Someone needs to take Lisa's black pills away.
It's true though. Like,
how is that a black pill? That's just real.
No, fair enough. But the point that I'm making is like we're just past 100 days. It's like, what is it, 2 weeks ago that was his first 100 days?
Guys, this is what's problematic. Like, it's exactly what's his face said about the omnibus bill. Like, that this is the plan coming in. You were campaigning. There were plenty of people that thought he was going to win. You had a plan going in. Execute it. It's almost like the omnibus stuff. You know that we're going to vote on spending bills. Make the time. Do the individual spending items. Make them individual bills. They don't plan ahead. They didn't do it again. We knew what we were getting into. We had from November to January 1st or January 20th to get it done. You mean in that time? Well, yes, you've got a team to appoint people to positions and all that, but you can't tell me that the Republicans couldn't think, like, what are our main priorities? Let's push them through right away before the next election cycle.
So you worked with multiple members of Congress. People take it out on Speaker Johnson a lot. Is he doing enough? Is he good enough?
It's very hard to wrangle all those people and all those interests and things like that. It's really that Congress is basically run by 20-year-olds and their LDs and swamp people like chiefs. There are plenty of good members that have been, like, they come in with all these good intentions and then they get a chief of staff that's like appointed to them basically, or they find them and they've been there for 20 years and because they live in DC and it's not part of their package, they watch CNN even though they're a Republican, right? And you get that DC swamp brain and they steer the member, right? So, and they're the ones, like, a member can't read every bill that goes out there. He can't be an expert on every policy, especially if you're on multiple committees.
When you're only passing 5 in the past 3 months,
no, there's
you can probably
way more.
read them all.
There's way more that goes through than that, especially with committee meetings and markups and all those things. And so they really rely heavily on their staff, and most staffers are 23 to 25-year-old idiots.
Yeah, but we're not even talking about hugely.
They're the one that's pushing the legislation, that and committees.
Right. So, but Johnson. Just think about it here. We're talking about, okay, they've now been, what's it, Thursday now? Okay, so now they've got a 4-day weekend. They go, you say they're in their district busting their asses.
I didn't say on 4-day weekends. I said in August they are. But go ahead, keep going.
All right, well, and so, is it too much to expect more out of them? To say that there should have been a lot more done. There should have been. Well, why is there just shock and awe in the executive branch? We have the House, we have the Senate, we have and the White House. You're only getting shock and awe out of the White House. You're not getting anything out of the House of Representatives. The Senate's been,
You're not going to, because they're influenced by lobbyists and moderate districts.
Why? You also know that the majority that the Republicans have is really still pretty narrow.
Correct.
So if they had if they had 400 seats and be like, all right, whatever, do whatever you want. But the majority of the Republicans have in the Congress is like, what is it, like 3 reliable or something like that? And Republicans are not like the Democrats where they all fall in line. There are different Republicans that have different agendas. I mean, like, you're not going to get Thomas Massey to vote for spending increases. It's just not going to happen.
I love him.
And I'm a big fan of Thomas Massey too. But like, there are going to be times where there's going to be a bill that like the Republicans want, and there are going to be people on like the Freedom Caucus that are like, nope. And they're reliable Republicans, and they're actually probably the best Republicans, but they're not going to bend because they have to worry about their constituents, and their constituents are going to be like, why did you vote for this? We didn't want this.
Oh, and
we
it
want
happens, and then they get Facebook campaigns, and then they get primary opponents, and then you're spending extra money, and it's like
the sausage making is not.
It's not as easy as you guys think it is.
What is the problem in Republican politics where they all feel like they have to grandstand all the time? Where they all feel like, oh well, this is the hill we're going to die on. Proxy voting for parents and like but you don't
all politics.
The Democrats they
all they do is grandstand and virtue signal.
But they get shit done. That's the problem. It's not shit that I want to get done, but they get it done.
Wait a minute.
Nancy
Do you know that
Pelosi,
the Democrats,
you can hate her all you want to, but she's a good speaker. She gets shit done.
She does. She commands. She definitely did.
Okay,
she
why
can
can't we
wrangle
do
them.
that?
I mean,
we need a Nancy Pelosi.
But listen, what do we have now? Speaker Johnson?
Yeah.
Imagine him coming to you and saying, listen, Nick, can you do me a favor? Now I want you to imagine how Pelosi was like, you listen here, you little shit. You're going to do what I tell you to do.
That's what she's like.
I know. And you're like, okay, ma'am, please stop spitting on me.
But the thing is that the Democrats, you'll hear them. I have Democrat friends or people that I knew that worked on that, and they're like, at least you Republicans don't have the infighting or the things. At least you're united. They say the same things we do. Listen to them talk. They say the same things we do. I promise you.
It's just what happened. Like, this is what people respond when they see how the sausage is made. And you hear that phrase is a thing for a reason. How the sausage is made.
When the Democrats shut down when they were censuring, what's his face? What's that guy's name who wiggled the cane at Trump?
Oh, Al Green.
Yeah, Al Green. When they censured him, what happened? They all walked in the middle and started singing a song, and Speaker Johnson was like, can you please stop? Please, people, I quit. And then he just like leaves. Okay. I'm paraphrasing. He actually said, order, we're adjourned, and then left. And I'm like, what?
No, he should have had
You were censuring the guy. Call in the sergeant at arms, have him all arrested.
Yeah,
he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it.
Yeah, because we have a conscience, and people that are on the right have this idea of fairness and duty and responsibility, all the things that the left throws out the window, and we should abandon.
Your duty and responsibility is to carry out Trump's agenda right now.
It's not even about Trump's agenda. It's if you're the Speaker of the House and the Democrats are singing songs obstructing Congress, you arrest them.
I agree.
That's what the sergeant at arms is for.
And the Speaker, the Republicans, are jellyfish.
They're tired. They're tired of being. Well, I guess they're used to this because they have been lambasted in the media as like the bad guys. Like I know people that are Republican now, but are still afraid to tell their clients, like in real life, like, oh, I'm not a Republican, but like I can kind of see where Trump's coming from. There is still this tinge that if like
cowardice?
You're a Republican, yes,
cowardice,
yeah, that you're like that. There's this stain on you that you're like this bad person or you're whatever.
Our country is in trouble because we have cowards everywhere. I know. There are celebrities, actors, musicians, professional athletes who have messaged me throughout the years being like, man, I love your show. I love what you do. I just, I can't say anything because I'm like, bro, you've got 7 million followers. Tweet one time. Right. If you want to save this country, you are a thought leader. You need to speak up. And they're like, no.
That's true.
And then you look at what Ye is doing. That guy's gone off. He's gone so far off the other end.
Yeah, we listened to that banger earlier here in the studio.
I was like, what is happening?
We will save that one for the uncensored portion. Kanye West's new song, which has it's got a backup vocals from Adolf Hitler. Yeah. That's not a joke.
It really does.
Not a joke.
Actual.
That was
I
wild.
can't believe I'm sitting in the same seat that he was at one point. Here I'm so honored.
So true.
To be fair, that was the other studio.
It was the. I was in that studio too.
Probably the same seat though.
Oh yeah, I think probably.
Moved it over. But yeah, I mean, I think that maybe that's a little bit different than somebody like tweeting on X about, I don't know how much further you can go to cancel Ye. I mean, he's already had his bank accounts frozen or whatever, and he said it all in the song. If you want to play it back, he can explain everything that was taken from him.
We'll
get there.
We will take a listen on the uncensored portion of the show for obvious reasons. I have a lot to say about Ye. He was on Piers Morgan recently.
Kanye was?
Me and
Piers
Piers.
walk
Morgan
off
has been
again.
wild lately.
Yeah, me and Piers are brothers in Ye walking off your show.
That is true. I'm like, oh, he did it there too. Great, that's not as bad.
It was actually really funny when he walked off on Piers because Piers was like, I didn't say anything. Like he just leaves.
We know what that's like.
I mean, I actually talked to the guy for 28 minutes.
Kind of.
On,
He didn't participate a ton. He just
No,
kinda,
for sure.
He just sits
But on Piers is like, it's good to have you. I believe you have, 32 million? And he's like, oh, here you go. No, I have more than that. He's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, I'm leaving. And he was like, what? How dare you say I have 1 million less followers than I actually have?
Sneeko was like, and during debate prep, we were having like he had some good answers. And so I'm like, so then why does he do this every time?
It's a stunt. It's fake. Like I've said this a million times.
think he planned to
Fact.
do that?
It's when, okay, first of all, when Ye came on our show, they had a jet waiting for him. You can't do that. So when they left the show and immediately got on a jet and took off, I called the charter company and I said, did you give him our jet? Like, I don't understand how he's flying out of our airport right now in a jet. And they were like, that's not possible. And I was like, how does he have a jet there that he was able to just get on and leave? And they were like, he must have pre-booked a jet. And I was like, why would he? He staged it.
I thought that he went straight from the studio to go get hibachi.
He landed at the airport at KFDK, went to Hibachi, came to our studio, left our studio, back to KFDK where a jet was waiting for him, and he took off. And the jet had come from Mercer. And so, because you can track all this stuff very easily. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. How did they have a jet waiting for him? Because they tricked me and never intended to actually do the show.
That's sad.
Their intention was to come on the show, do a stunt, and storm off intentionally. When Ye came on the show, when we were waiting before, totally normal guy. Totally normal guy, like me talking to Phil right here. He was talking like this, I think it's really interesting what we're seeing with Elon Musk, and the things he's been doing. And we're talking, and it was really normal. He sits down, Milo's here, Nick's here, and then he's talking. He's like, what do you think about Mike Pence? And then Milo starts talking about it. And then he's like, yeah, that's really interesting what he's been working on. And I said, here's the story we're going to open with. If you're cool, it's about Mike Pence has been commenting on, your dinner. And he's like, yeah, okay. Turn the cameras on. Yo, I'm just going to say, man, I'm talking about. And I was like, what? and then he storms out. And I was like, we literally talked to him for an hour. We filmed it all. We filmed everything leading up to it. And we published it. And I was like, watch that video. When he was just chilling, totally normal. As soon as the cameras turned on for the live show, it was like, it's all fake. And then he stormed off. Yeah. And then there's a jet waiting for him. Milo insists it wasn't staged. But I'm like, how did they have a jet waiting for him? I'm like, we called one. You called a jet and got a jet an hour.
To rural West
I would tend
Virginia.
to believe Milo.
It was Frederick, Maryland, which is about an hour from D.C. So that's not what's unheard of. What's unheard of is flight crews have a restriction. The moment you call a crew, there's an 8-hour period. Or I forgot how it works, but basically, FAA regulates how much time a person can be active for a flight.
But they can't have them on standby?
No, because there is a certain amount of time. So he's flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, which is going to be, like a 5-6 hour flight or whatever, especially for a PJ. It's not going to go as fast as a big jetliner, meaning you need a fresh crew starting right now. So when I called our broker, they said, this is not possible. You cannot get a jet like this because the crew has to have basically just woken up. FAA has restrictions on how long they can work, meaning a crew was ready to come on board at KFDK right now with the jet set to fly in. She's like, I've never seen anybody book a jet to come to an airport like that within an hour or 2 hours. It's like a day is crazy. She told me the only time I've ever booked someone on a quick turnaround flight like that, it was like we were flying from San Francisco to San Jose, and it was like a 3-minute flight. And so they flew there and flew right back, and it didn't disrupt any of the scheduling. But booking for a cross-country flight within an hour, she's like, impossible.
No, I believe it. I just can't see Milo doing that at the time to you and Cassandra. Like, I just can't see him, like, for as crazy as Milo can be sometimes. He is loyal, and he doesn't
I don't
like.
think that he did it intentionally.
Yeah, like, I don't think that, like, that's why I find it hard to.
I can totally see it.
Really?
It didn't hurt us in any meaningful way. What ended up happening was when we announced we were going to have Ye, Nick, and Milo on the show, we were getting a ton of flack. People were yelling at us. Then when he stormed off, the liberal media wrote, Tim Pool pushed back against anti-Semitism and they were actually writing positive things about me. It got massive celebrity coverage. So my view is, I don't know if Milo's telling the truth or not. He says it wasn't staged. But if Milo's mentality is, I'm not going to be hurting Timcast, I'm going to be boosting his profile, giving him the biggest show and a major celebrity stunt.
That makes sense.
He's going to, it'll be good for him.
Right.
And maybe he did.
It was funny because the coverage after the fact was either that you pushed back too much or that you didn't push back enough so you couldn't win.
And everyone was like, you screwed that interview up. And I was like,
You misstated his follower count, didn't you?
no, we interviewed him for about an hour beforehand when we published that video. So I was like,
fine.
the video is up. We talked to him for a while. He got mad at me because he said, how do I win the presidency? And then I didn't think it was a serious question. And so I said, well, the thing is with the elections. And then as we're walking upstairs, he goes, I asked you a question. You didn't answer me. I asked you how to win the presidency. And I said, oh, ballot harvesting. And he was like, what's that? And I was like, you get a bunch of activists to go door to door and pick up ballots for people as the Democrats do. And he's like, really? And he starts writing it down. And I was like, oh, good luck, dude. Anyway,
So James,
that's the Ye story.
So O'Keefe published another. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, the Pam Bondi thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just now saw that.
Another one?
I'll pull that one up, but we got to we are going to go to chats in a second. But I'll pull this one up. Take a look.
Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, was at the White House and disclosed what she represented as brand new information in relation to Jeffrey Epstein: the existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, this is the first time an official has publicly acknowledged that videos of Epstein and his victims exist. What you may not know is just 9 days prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been.
Okay.
So-
Any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken about the, quote, mountain of evidence in the Epstein case, but they've never, previous to that moment, acknowledged on the existence of videos of, quote, little kids. Just a few days later, at 2 p.m. on May 1st, our reporter sent the AG's office the text of the recording. We asked why this detail had not been disclosed to the public, but was instead being told to a random stranger at a restaurant. The Attorney General used almost the exact same language as she did with the stranger in the restaurant, language that we shared with her press office.
There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, we hesitated to publish this story, but believe, like we did yesterday, that the public has a right to know. And this one raises serious questions. On one hand, why did our country's highest law enforcement official share this information first not with the American people, but with a self-described nanny at brunch? But more importantly, why was this information held back in the first place? Does this show that a government apparatus is still working behind the scenes to protect powerful people involved in the scandal? Based upon the response to our Epstein story yesterday, it's clear that the American people want answers, and they want accountability.
Wow. James O'Keefe, brother, you are the best journalist of our generation. I am in awe. The balls it takes to pull an operation like this off, undercover reporting of the Attorney General of the United States, especially Pam Bondi, who's supposed to be doing right by the American people who voted in Donald Trump. James O'Keefe, man, you are doing the Lord's work. I am very impressed, and this is incredible. It actually appears that we only learned about this from Pam Bondi because of the work of James, and they tried to preempt his release of this video by her coming out and saying this. So
what's the
hopefully
point?
we get more.
I don't understand the point. Why not? This is what the American people want. I mean, we obviously we want some substance.
Nobody
to this
wants
stuff.
to see those videos.
Nobody wants to see the video. We're not asking to see the videos. You know, we're asking for just give us more. She's been silent on the Epstein files for
Congressional hearing. A hearing where she can she can go before Congress. They can ask her questions and she can answer. Look, I'd like documents. I'd like files, any kind of proof. But I will settle for, at least right now, She goes before Congress and say, what are these videos? Here's what we have. What are these files? Here's what we have. At least describe what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Rep Comer just came out a day or so ago and said that all these files were like there was plenty of evidence that was deleted, files missing, right? And then she clapped back at him saying, laughed and said, I'll call him later.
Why isn't she talking to the chair of the House Oversight Committee to begin with? Why is there a disconnect there? James Comer isn't just some random congressman.
Correct. I don't understand what the disconnect is, and I don't understand why we knew a lot of this evidence was supposedly there. And again, it's been months. You can't arrest one person from the Epstein case.
Right, right.
Not all of them. Give me
What about
one?
any kind of action against Prince Andrew?
One thing. Just give me one thing. They won't do that because it's the monarchy. But like, just give me one person.
Why not?
Make it a low level.
I don't really
person.
care. I don't really care if it's a monarchy or not.
Well,
I know you don't, but they won't.
Wait,
Let's be fair here.
Is Epstein Island in the U.S. or is it outside?
No,
the US?
I think it's private.
So if the prince was not in the U.S., they can't arrest him.
Is it BVI?
Well, they can.
They could out him, they could shame him, they could do a lot of things, but they won't do that to the.
They can bar him from the
I don't know,
United
Little
States.
St.
They can
James.
announce he's barred from the United States.
Little St. James is a private island in the United States Virgin Islands.
Okay.
So it is a U.S. island.
U.S.
Yeah.
territory then. Yeah.
We're going to go to your chats, my friends. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. We're going to have that uncensored show coming up. You do not want to miss this one because Kanye West has a new song that came out. Kanye West featuring Adolf
Unreal.
Hitler. That's not a joke. Literally, Kanye West put out a song featuring Adolf Hitler.
Unreal.
Brought him back to life.
And somehow got heat. We'll talk about the uncensored. It's ridiculous.
Listening party.
You know what's kind of sad is that if the song was just normal and it wasn't crazy and his lyrics were like talking about how he likes watching football games, it'd be a good song.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's actually
From
a banger.
production standpoint, it is good.
Man. Okay, let's
It's
go
wild.
to your chats. Shane H. Wilder says, remember when speaking about a pope, using left or right terms does not really work. The church is 2,000 years old and does not fit into that box. Instead, look in terms of orthodoxy versus heterodoxy. Nostalgia makes you sad says, get woke, go pope. All right. Whiskey Biscuit says, Tim, congrats on having your first child. Cherish every moment you have with her because they grow up so fast, just like the wonderful trees from fastgrowingtrees.com. Promo code Shimcast. I don't think that's a real promo code. But there's a promo code Timcast, I think, right? We have so many promo codes with a bunch of different companies. But
I like fast growing trees though in general. Go get a lilac tree or a pear tree.
Pear tree? I call those sand fruit.
Okay, no, it's not like a real pear. Like it's a just a pretty type of
We had
tree.
a-
It has
we had-
little white flowers.
We had a pear
Dogwood
tree
tree.
at the castle. And at first we were all excited, like, oh, pears. And then I hate them and won't eat them because it's like eating sand. And then
Pears are delicious.
Allison bit into it and spat out and she said, these are disgusting.
Well, they have to be
And
ripe.
then I
You
went
have
to the
they have to
I
be
went to the
ripe.
pear tree and I shook my fist and cursed it.
I ate one of them and they were good.
Really? From the
If
pear
they're-
tree?
yeah, if
Tasted
they're-
sweet.
The one right at the front of the driveway? Uh-huh. Those weird little brown
so.
orbs.
Maybe it was a different one.
If they're ripe,
We have
they're
one
delicious.
pear tree. Because there's apple trees.
well, I had fruit from whatever that was.
but what but did you cut it open or like the skin is brown and nasty and hard?
No.
Not
It
if they're
just,
ripe.
you kind of just looked like an apple.
You got
Maybe you just had an apple from the apple tree.
There was already an apple tree?
There are two apple trees. There's a red
Really?
one and a green one.
Oh, okay.
What color was the thing you ate?
I don't remember.
The one closer
didn't
to
look.
the house is the apple tree.
I
right?
didn't
The
look,
one
I
near
just
the
bit.
walkway was the apple tree, right?
We have
Or that was a crab apple tree.
no, we have actual apples. Yeah, real apples.
I don't remember how.
Wait,
they're
if you're-
delicious.
If you're looking at the castle, it was on this side.
The left.
Sorry, it was on your.
If you are looking straight at the castle, to the right is the apple tree. Two apple trees.
Okay, yeah, I had an apple. Never.
Yeah, you didn't have the sand fruit.
didn't have the sand fruit.
Did you guys ever see It's Always Sunny when he eats the pear for the first time?
I told you.
Like it's eating sand. He ate the
Pears are
sticker.
delicious. You have to get a really good ripe pear.
We have two black cherry trees though, but one collapsed in the storm a few months ago.
Tragedy.
Yeah. Anyway,
cherry wood.
fast growing cheese is good though.
Oh, there were mulberries too. Those are so good.
Yeah, I can't eat those.
Why?
Allergic.
He kept handing them to me.
Missing
Made
out.
me eat them. They're good though.
But the wine berries, those are awesome. The Chinese raspberries, an invasive species that are delicious.
Yum.
And we harvested like a gallon of them, and then we made ice cream with them.
You know, there's some lore about the chestnut tree and it's wiping out. Like it's almost gone and extinct now because of Appalachia. Well, a long time ago. Anyway, you would like that story. I'm going to send a link.
We have pawpaw everywhere. And man, living out here, I started to learn something crazy, and that is there's so much more edible fruit everywhere that you can't buy in grocery stores that most people have never experienced and is literally just right there. Pawpaw, for instance, pawpaw and mulberry break and rot too easily, so nobody harvests and ships them. Also, pawpaw is really hard to cultivate because it's pollinated by beetles and flies. Yeah. Yep.
Mulberry's really messy.
Yeah, mulberries, chickens love them. They love eating the mulberries.
Birds love them.
Yeah. I think they taste terrible.
Yeah.
Let's go. We'll grab some more chats here. See what we got going on over here. All right. Tim Jake says, Trump says he will appoint Fox News host and former prosecutor Jeanine Pirro as interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, according to a post on Truth Social. Indeed, he will. We're very happy. Scientific Fanfic says, how about we change the lyrics in Greenwood's God Bless the USA instead of who gave that right to me, saying protecting that right for me. No one died to give you or me a right given to us by God. No wonder we have lost our way.
Yeah.
Mark Guidetti says, free Tommy Robinson.
Yes.
What's the latest on him?
He is struggling. He's basically in solitary. I'm not allowed to email him anymore. They took me. They won't let me talk to him for a while.
Really?
For a while, they took his son off. He couldn't contact him, and then they got him. They went back. But he's been in solitary. He'll be out in August. But
when he gets out, can we give him asylum here?
Oh no. Well, I mean, Trump. He has a better chance of that with Trump in office, but he has some issues that prevent him from coming here because he traveled on the fake. We almost had him here one time. I had like members of
What was it?
Congress
Like it was a
kind of
bad visa or something?
No, he came over on his friend's passport.
Oopsie.
He did it on purpose because he knew there was some issues with him getting in the first place. He really wanted to give this speech at the 9/11 thing that he was asked to speak for. He got in on it. Customs and Border Patrol flagged him, and then he left on his regular passport. But you know what? The U.S. never pressed charges for that at all. The U.K. did. They locked him up for a while for that. Yeah, the U.K. is the one. We had customs.
If he flies to Mexico, he'd walk across southern border. Well, not anymore, actually.
Well, he can't do that now. But he couldn't really do that before either because once they would run him in the system, they detain him, and then he's really stuck there and in trouble. We looked into
Not if he goes gay.
what?
Not if he goes gay. When they're like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Gay.
But anyway, he's really struggling right now, and he struggled the first time. I remember I got him on Tucker right after he came out. It was like a day or two later, and it was it was like he's gonna need some recovery time before he can do anything. It's really, really a shame, and nobody's putting the pressure on anymore. So thank you for whoever said that. Yes, please keep the pressure off the free Tommy Robinson. It's really important to me too, especially.
All right. Jacob Jones says, Vatican elects an American Pope. 10 minutes later, pineapple on all pizza.
No.
Well, I think the worrying thing is that Catholics are obligated to adhere to every edict ever by the Pope. So if he orders you to have pineapple on pizza.
Don't know that.
Oh,
that's right.
Now that the Pope's from Chicago, all New York pizzas are going to be mandated to be the thick deep dish too.
It was funny because when someone posted that meme saying that, he was sharing the Eucharist or whatever, but it was pizza, someone responded with the correct response, which is, that's for tourists. That's not what a Chicago person would serve you. And then he posted an image of a dipped Italian beef with giardiniera, which is the correct response. We ordered Portillo's. We were talking about this the other day. I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about Chicago stuff. And I was like, I am ordering, what did we order? $1,000 worth of hot dogs. And then, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, you mean like Obama?
Oh, no.
And see
You
this
mean
is
Michelle? Michael?
Let me tell you. So Barack Obama ordered $30,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs from Chicago to a White House party. And people on the internet who've never been to Chicago were like, that proves it. They were trafficking children. And I was like, no, he ordered Portillo's and Lou Malnati's. He ordered Maxwell Street Polish because he's from Chicago. And those are two big things Chicago has. And he was ordering it for a massive White House party, overnighted. So if he got like 1,000 hot dogs, 1,000 deep dish pizzas, and like 1,000 Polish, Maxwell Street Polish, he's going to be spending, I don't know, that's probably going to cost you 10 or 15 grand, or no, that's probably going to cost you upwards of 30 grand.
Who paid for that?
Obama?
Yeah.
I think he did.
No, Obama paid for it.
I mean, maybe the taxpayer paid for it.
Campaign
No, that's
funds.
what I mean.
Probably campaign funds.
But either way, somehow we found out about it. So that's
But every time I order pizza and hot dogs from Chicago, people always say that. Because it's like you can order Lou Malnati's, Giordano's. I don't like ordering Giordano's. Sorry, guys. It's just, it doesn't work the same. When you go to a Giordano's, you get deep dish, it's good. But ordering, it's not the same.
So I was down there in North Carolina, or not North Carolina. I guess. Well, maybe no. It was Florida after Helene, and I ordered like 50 cheese pizzas, and I posted a picture of the cheese pizzas in the back of the car, and they're like, that proves it. That's sick. I had no idea what the hell the cheese pizza thing meant at the time, and I was like, why is everybody? It's because apparently
when was this?
This is back in, I guess, September. It was when Helene
People
hit.
are still saying you can't post a picture with pizza.
Because it's
pizza
Because they'll
emoji.
accuse you of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently cheese pizza is
crazy.
the worst because it's CP.
It's because-
CP, yeah.
Right.
It comes
So
from
then
4chan.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the pizza emoji got associated with it, and then pedos online would put pizza emojis and other stuff. They use symbols so that they can
bit of
lurk
a
around
reach,
like.
though.
People that I thought were half rational were like, "Oh, Nick, what are you doing? You like really? This is you? This is who you are?" I'm like, "Yeah, I bought pizzas for some people that lost their houses in hurricanes."
Makes me feel
I don't know.
about Venmo. Like, like I go to my kids' baseball games and I get a slice of pizza and I put in like however much it is for my pizza slice. Like that.
We're gonna uncover that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that sounds
no.
scary. I'll never do that again. I'll just write it.
You're done.
Snack bar food. That would not be good.
All right, let's grab some more chats. What do we got here? Awesome. Lee says, if you want an in-depth analysis on the Pope issue, Leo Zagami is your guy. He's a Vatican insider and was on the Alex Jones show saying Pope Leo is worse than Francis.
Yeah, send me his link. We'll get him on something.
You know, I think an important thing about this Pam Bondi revelation is that this means the Biden administration had access to all these documents, these videos, and just shut up about it.
Yeah. Is Virginia Guffrey's suicide getting investigated, or
In
is
Australia?
that just...
Yeah, the problem is it happened in Australia. So what do you?
But they're
do? I mean,
gonna rule that a suicide.
You saw her father come out the other day and be like, "Oh, that wasn't a suicide. There's no way she wouldn't have done that." I mean,
She also literally said, "If I ever commit suicide, I didn't." So
yeah, well, that'll
you're
do
just
it.
gonna
So
rule
did
that a
McAfee.
suicide and call it a day?
I mean, it's Australia. I have no idea.
They just did that in Boston to a girl.
I mean, it happens all the time in the U.S. Yeah.
Keep pushing it. I'm interested to find out where these 10,000 videos supposedly came from. Did it come from SDNY? Did it come from the FBI? Where did you actually get those?
I think it came from the FBI, and they've been sitting on it for administration after administration.
I'm going to say this because when Virginia made that tweet where she was like, if anything happens to me, I'm not suicidal, people said, yeah, but that was 6 years ago. That was 6 years ago. So, and I was kind of like, nah, I don't know about all that. I don't know that I need to say it because obviously James O'Keefe, with all due respect, I'm not trying to be a dick or, disrespectful, but he pokes the bear. That's why he was like, I'm going dark.
Yeah.
But I'll just say this. Not only am I not suicidal, I view it as a mortal hell-worthy trespass for which I would never consider under any circumstances. It is dishonorable, and it is a violation of divine law. So I hope that statement is clear as day. Because if 6 years from now someone's like, well, it has been 6 years, I'm like, no.
Maybe he changed his mind.
I will never change my
I
mind.
think so. And then that doesn't really explain like how she almost got killed by a bus.
And
the bus driver,
Literally like a week before.
bus driver said he did not actually slam into her. It was a minor fender bender that broke a taillight. That's all it did. He said she wasn't injured. I didn't even see her in there. He's like, I bumped into her and a taillight broke, and that was it.
2 + 2 = 5. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I was arguing with ChatGPT about 2 + 2 = 5, and it kept telling me I was wrong. It was like, you're wrong. 2 + 2 = 4. And I said, no, it doesn't. It means it could be 5. And then I finally convinced it to agree with me. So I shared an article with it from Popular Science, I think it was, where it's like, why 2 + 2 does equal 5. And then it was like, yes, some academics are making the argument, and then I called it a white supremacist.
The correct answer to that is fine. If that,
Like, okay,
if knowing
please.
if knowing math makes me a white supremacist.
What if ChatGPT sees it like just arguing with a woman? Eventually, you're just like, you know what? Fine, you're right.
Fine.
But then it gets mad because it doesn't think you're sincere. Beavis McLean says, I'm as anti-war as Scott Horton, but the bright side of this war between Pakistan and India is that my daily spam calls have dropped off a cliff in the past few days.
I said that earlier.
That's really
There's a
funny.
lot of people making that claim.
I like it.
I don't
Answering
think
them.
people are joking.
No, for real.
Well, I mean,
I say really bad things when they're on there. Things like
Me too.
Yeah.
He's, like,
it's
bloody.
fun for me. I
know,
answer it, and I
guys-
just like go along this journey with them.
Like it has to do with like their profit. That's why I say bad things.
The
and then they
trick
get really upset and hang up on me.
when you have you guys know what the trick is to deal with a Chinese scammer?
What's that?
Just respond Tiananmen Square.
Oh. Yeah.
That's not a joke.
I don't think I've had a Chinese scam
haven't
call
either.
before. Have you?
There are online email scams and stuff like that,
okay.
and people respond to the email with Tiananmen Square massacre, and then they're instantly gone.
Blip.
Yep, they never respond to you. They never get you back.
Hopefully they don't get punished for that.
I don't know. It's a foreign country, you know. Like I'm not gonna, China's got. It's illegal to be a Uyghur Muslim in China.
Kind of haunted by what Rudyard was saying about their cremation numbers compared to the reported deaths.
I remember this story's been going on for some time, where they're tracking thermal readings and like CO2 and stuff and other gas emissions, and they were like, if you look at like satellite imagery tracking heat and chemicals, it looks like they're burning lots of bodies.
Yep.
Lovely.
I don't know, man.
But hey, we can get Nikes for cheap, right?
So here's a funny story. Fallen Footwear kicked off one of their pro skateboarders from their team, and then he got super pissed because he's Ukrainian. And he said, I got an email saying that for political reasons, I was being removed from the team. He thought it was because he was posting to raise money for the Ukraine war effort because he has friends, or for relief and charity. And they responded to him saying, no, we didn't mean political reasons relating to you. We meant political reasons related to the tariffs, which are driving up the price of shoes, so we're cutting back. So all these companies that have sold out our manufacturing base, shoes, to China, are now saying, oopsie, we're going out of business.
Did you see that Hallmark thing?
What was that?
So, like, I just saw this yesterday. So, Hallmark manufactures mainly in the United States, right? I think it's Ohio and Kentucky or Kansas or something like that. And they just put out a new price sheet. There's this girl, and she's getting her ornaments, and they put out a new price sheet, raising all their prices, and they're like, due to the tariffs. She calls them up. What tariffs? You manufacture all your products here, right? And they were like, well, it's the economic climate, but there are companies now, it's seemingly, like I don't want to like speak because I don't have all the facts, but seemingly that don't manufacture their products where it would be affected by tariffs that are now exploiting the situation to raise prices.
Wow.
Yeah, which isn't good.
Corporal Fett says SpaceX Starbase in Texas is now an official city with municipal authorities and such. Musk plans on expanding the city. I find this to be really cool. I think it's a big mistake.
You think it's a big mistake?
Yeah.
Why?
Because some crackpot woke people will infiltrate it secretly, because I guarantee you they're planning on it right now. They're going to move in and they're going to say things like, we are based just like you. Then they're going to get into positions of city council authority, and then they're going to crush Elon Musk. And they're going to use municipal authority and state authority to do it.
I go with that.
Okay, they couldn't already do that before?
It was not incorporated. It was not a city.
Okay, well...
Now with municipal authorities, they can say, we're banning this, we're taxing that, we're taxing this. And then what's he going to do about it?
It'd be interesting to see where the lines are. Where does Starbase Texas begin and end? Because as far as I'm aware, SpaceX owns all of the real estate in Starbase Texas.
And as a city, they're going to have city council and municipal authorities. And so what woke people did in West Virginia is they moved here claiming to be moderate to conservative, got on the school board, and then immediately voted to bring a bunch of trans stuff into the schools.
Fantastic.
Yep. So they'll do the same thing at Starbase. This is what they do. They're going to get jobs there. They're going to move in. They're going to infiltrate. And or not even that. Elon's going to bring California employees who are kind of just like, I'm not really political. But then when it comes to city votes, they're going to be like, yeah, I think gay people should be in charge. And then Elon's going to go, oh, crap. And they're going to vote to ban stuff, and they're going to vote to regulate stuff and tax stuff. And then there's going to be cops, and the cops are going to be like, hey, look, man, my boss is just telling me to arrest you, so I'm going to do it because I can't think for myself, blah, blah, blah. And that's what'll happen. And then you get cops in Seattle who are like, I can't arrest these Antifa who are firebombing things because my boss told me not to. It's like, then quit. What are you doing? Just quit. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Pinochet says AOC has a white male fiance problem. The dude wears socks with Birkenstocks. Defeats the purpose. Typical socialist.
Dude, he's a ginger, and didn't that black lady just say that gingers are actually blacks?
I did hear that thing on
That was really funny.
X.
Joseph A. Metzler says there are 6 wars in Africa on top of those, Tim. Anything going on in South America?
I don't know.
Just more like civil conflict, huh?
Yeah, I don't think they're actually particularly hot if there are,
Yeah, it's just a Guyana thing.
I think somebody asked Trump about the Congo in the Oval Office the other day, and he's like, I don't freaking know anything about the Congo. Like, leave me alone. I don't care.
What about the femigenocide going on in the Congo?
You have to get him
talking about that.
Send him a mug.
Yeah. We're trying to fundraise for the Congolese people right now. They're suffering.
They lost all their USAID funding.
Yeah.
The Congolese, of course, many people don't know this, but they were strong allies of the Pakistanis in World War II.
They were.
I didn't know that.
Only you would know that, Tim.
Anybody asking about?
Yes, I would know that. Something I just made up literally right now. What do we got here? Gnarly Marley says GOP just blocked a major 2A bill. Per usual, they only talk a big game on gun rights. Yeah, they're just
two of them.
The Republican Party is the slow down there Democrats party.
If you want to call the House Ways and Means Committee at 202-225-3625 to say you dislike that would be great. It's H.R. 404, the Hearing Protection Act, and H.R. 2395, the Short Act. Both of those are intended to remove items from the NFA that should not be on the NFA. So that's 202-225-3625. That's the House Ways and Means Committee. Tell them to move this bill along.
Lurch 685 says Portillo's serves breakfast now. I must tell all of you, if you go to Chicago, I will give you two places to go. One, a small business, Villa Rosa Pizza on Archer Avenue by Midway Airport. That was my neighborhood pizza place when I was a young lad in Catholic school. When they would order pizzas, that's where they got it from, and it's the best. It is tavern-style Chicago pizza, meaning it's not deep dish. It is a
bar pizza.
We don't call it bar pizza. We call it Shroud tavern style.
If Portnoy was doing it, he called it bar pizza, like the tavern, like thin pizza, right? Like a thin crust.
The crust is like that. Yeah. So the crust is maybe quarter of an inch thick. It is not floppy. It is firm, and the edges don't rise. They're crunchy like a cracker. And that's what you get there. And then I would also recommend, of course, absolutely any Portillo's. You got to go to Portillo's. It's just so good. Get cheese fries.
You know, I've never been to Chicago, like ever.
Wow.
I know, isn't that weird?
It's like a different country. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
What makes somebody want to go visit Chicago? I don't understand. You're from Chicago, sell me on it.
Okay. Maybe you feel a little doughy and you're trying to sharpen your edges, so you feel like running from bullets.
See, I have enough of that in Philly.
Yeah.
We're all bulleted up here.
All right, everybody, smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Join us over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL because we're going to play Kanye West's new hit single. I can't say the name of the song.
We're all about to be canceled here.
You literally, the name of the song is bannable on YouTube. So, and it's Kanye West featuring Adolf Hitler. This is not a joke. I'm literally not joking.
It's wild.
So we're gonna discuss the song over at on the Uncensored Members Only show. Check us out there. Use promo code TIM10 to get $10 off your annual Rumble Premium membership. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Nick, do you want to shout anything out?
Sure. Yeah, I am on X because I'll get banned everywhere else. It's at Nick Sortor, NickSortor. If you ever want me to, yell at anybody at the Capitol, my DMs are open, and that's what we're gonna be doing a lot more. Because these people, we've been talking about it today. They have to be held accountable. They're not doing anything. No matter how much we yell and scream online, we gotta confront them in person. Miss Lisa, thank you for inviting me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. I want somebody that if I'm going to be on, that I get along with. So we'll get along very well. Yeah, bye, guys. You know who I am, Lisa. At Lisa Elizabeth. I don't know if there's much to say. Oh, by the way, the tick is officially dead, so we're good. I don't have to feel itchy anymore. It's floating. It's like sunk to the bottom. Yeah, it's sunk to the bottom. It's done now.
So, I got more for you.
His legs are falling off. No, I don't.
He was frisbee golfing. Nick was frisbee golfing with the boys, Andy and Brandon, in the tall grass. And I said, guys, we had the lawn mowing companies to come in, and y'all walking in tall grass in tick season. Homie gets ticks all over him.
I mean, it was just I ran in there for 6 steps, 7 steps, and all of a sudden I come back with ticks.
Dude, I am like
he ran out screaming as if he was on fire with ticks everywhere. And I was like, oh. Anyway, Mary, what's up?
Go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis on YouTube, and we also just joined Rumble, so go follow us there as well. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived or send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
I'm going to hit that one more time. Call the House Ways and Means Committee. It's 202-225-3625 and tell them that you want them to push forward the HR 404, which is the Hearing Protection Act, and HR 2395, the Short Act. If you are pro 2A, these two bills are very important. I'm Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record is entitled Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. And The Left Lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.